It was 6 years ago to this very night that, I clicked the go live button and just decided that it would be a good idea to have a whiskey-themed live stream on the European time zone. 6 years has gone by very, very quickly, and a lot's happened over the course of those 6 years, but I remain utterly, utterly grateful. I am so thankful to everybody that turns up and sits through 2.5, 3 hours, sometimes more, of all the things that we've covered over the years. We're gonna do a wee bit more of that tonight. We're gonna push the boat out. We're gonna pick up a couple of bottles to celebrate 6 years, but do it in a very typically vPub way. Hope you're sitting comfortably. I'm looking forward to it, and I'll see you in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Thursday night. Welcome to another vPub. For those of you who are joining for the first time, hey, welcome. It's fantastic to have you joining. This is not typical YouTube content or typical digital content at all. Actually, it's a kind of meeting place. It's a space for us all to come and gather and talk about whiskey for a couple of hours. Mostly it's me that's doing the talking, but in the chat live, there's a bunch of beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies, informing each other, helping each other, and just being awesome and fantastic. Just really, really welcoming and kind and generous. Of course, there's lots and lots of people that come and watch it on the replay afterwards, and for that, I'm very, very grateful. All of you have helped make this. I don't know how you would, if you would call it successful. I feel I'm still doing it after 6 years, so there's some form of success. But I measure it in, for me, I measure it in fun. Am I still enjoying this? Is this still a cool thing to do? And it very much is. Even some weeks when I feel that I'm just not there. I'm not in the mood for it. I need to kind of just kind of power through. As the minutes tick on to the 9:45 kickoff, I start to become very, very grateful and very pleased and excited to participate in it again. Why? Because I see all the people here in the chat. I see the people tuning in and saying, "Hey, how's everybody doing?" And it's just a very, very fortifying thing to be involved in. I love it. I'm very, very appreciative. 6 years ago, it was on Thanksgiving that I went live. It could be a quieter night tonight because, of course, all of the folk in North America will be potentially celebrating their Thanksgiving this evening. And there's just something we'll have to deal with, the fact that Thanksgiving is on a Thursday night, which is, I think, a wee bit rude, but we'll roll with it. But it was Thanksgiving that I went live on. In that first unannounced live stream, I clicked, 39 people dropped in, and it's been an amazing journey ever since. We've had fantastic people participating live, fantastic people joining from the community, fantastic guests from the industry. We've had on-location vPubs. We've covered so much in those 6 years. But I tend not to dwell too much or get too excited about milestones, subscriber counts, and video milestones and years and things like that. But I think it's worthwhile making note of it, because if I didn't, I know that you guys would. So we'll make note of it tonight, but we won't dwell on it. For those of you that are really dedicated and you're really keen to know, I've got a few stats about the vPub over the 6 years that I'll share right at the end of tonight's session. I'll put it out close to the quiz at the end, so it's kind of the really dedicated barflies and things that would be interested in a few kind of giveaways and chat facts and things like that. But in the meantime, in order to celebrate, I think it deserves to be marked. This is the vPub that I'll choose to look at the upper end of people's spending limits. I've done it in the past before. I've talked about celebration whiskies. I've talked about older whiskies. We've dedicated very occasional vPubs to things that are slightly more expensive. But in 2023, and I think the very foreseeable near future, it's tougher and tougher and tougher all the time, isn't it? So I've had to be a little bit more realistic. And in the past, where I've been chasing 21-year-olds, 24, 25-year-olds and beyond even, I think we've just all got to realize that those things are probably well out of the majority of our reach today. So what can we afford for the price pocket that they used to occupy? What's available today? Over the course of the last few weeks and months, I've been buying little treat bottles or things that I'm curious about or things that you guys have been talking about and putting it to the side in order to mark this vPub. And I noticed that as the wee collection was growing, that it's once more in that sweet spot that we've hit over the course of the years of the vPub, that perfect kind of mid to late teens age statement. That's where we are tonight. That's where we're going to spend most of our time tonight. And I've got 6 whiskies to share with you as well. And 6 whiskies that at least 5 of them, potentially 6, don't really get much airtime on the vPub. But possibly they deserve it in the context of today. Let's see what you think. Anyway, before we get into that, before we start pouring whiskies, before we start pushing the boat out, as they say, let's raise a wee glass to everybody and say happy Thanksgiving to everybody in North America. I hope your tummies are full, and if they're not full, they're just not full yet. And I hope you're looking forward to kicking back and having a nice holiday weekend too. Cheers to everyone. Cheers. Whether Thanksgiving is your holiday or not, I think it's good to have moments where you're actually grateful for things and you can appreciate all the positive things that happen. That's certainly true for me in this vPub. Let's jump in and welcome some of you dedicated barflies and beautiful whiskey folk. I said that back to front. Is everything going to change now? That's 6 years done. I have to start changing. You noticed that the camera's changed a wee bit. We had the hiccup. I'm still running on the phone, but I've been able to play with it a little bit, so it's a little bit better. But the fact remains that I've got an expensive camera that can sit there. And it's still useful to take photos and things. I can still use the camera. But the main reason I bought it was to broadcast with. And now with the update from Mac OS to Sonoma, the camera is no longer supported. So it's really at Canon's feet. So if anybody knows anyone at Canon, ask them to get their finger out, please, and get some fresh support. It's not like they didn't have any warning. Regardless, it's fine. You can see me, and it's not really important that you see me as long as you can hear me, I guess, and as long as you can see and read each other. Anyway, let's jump into the lounge and welcome some of you, see who's here tonight. Regan Haddix is here. Good to see you, Lewis. It's not Andrew, it's Lewis. Nice to welcome you in on a Thursday night. I hope you're doing well. And Mikey Hayes here. Fantastic. You know, it's one of the things that I need to mention is there's a lot of names that they're in here tonight that I feel if they were not here on that very first vPub 6 years ago, it wasn't very long after it if they joined. I feel like Mikey Hayes, one of those that's been here from the beginning. Even in Aquavita, even in all happy 6-year vPubversary, thought it would be rude if I didn't get 6 whiskies myself to keep me company tonight. You superstar, Mikey. I hope there's 6 good ones, and I hope you're sitting comfortably. It's brilliant to have you in, buddy. Gerben Blocker is here saying congratulations on this achievement. Wonderful to have you, Gerben. I hope you're very well over there in the Netherlands, and maybe I'll see you in Limburg next year. Fernando is here saying, hello, evening, Roy, evening, Barflies. Hope you're all doing great. Still at work, so as soon as I finish, I'll join the vPub. Hey, don't rush, Fernando. We'll be here for you when you finally get around to hopping up on your bar stool, buddy. Molasses Mike is saying happy 6th year. Here's to the next 6. Cheers to you as well, Mike. Thanks for joining in and thanks for the kind words. Hellswood is saying, evening, Roy, and happy 6th anniversary. Good to see you, Helen and Andy. Again, one of these very, very familiar names. And here's another one, Jerry Miller. Jerry, I feel like you've been around forever. Happy anniversary, Roy. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for being here and for participating and being part of it, Jerry. Your Uncle Vanya is here. Good to see you, your Uncle Vanya. I think I know who that is. I think we may have... Did we meet in the Bonaccord in the last couple of months? Dornpass Whiskey is saying, cheers, Roy, and everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. Cheers to you, Tim. Hope you're doing well. And Chris Pollack is saying, congrats on 6 years. Ben Demon Hunter is saying, happy 6 years, Roy. Been here for 4 years. Terrific. Thank you very much, Ben. It's always terrific to see you in, buddy. You're a regular. Max is saying, good evening, my dear friend. It seems that you got the camera running. Slants you to 6 years. Big hug. Well, I got a camera running. it's the phone, and it's working a wee bit better than it was last week. Peat had a saying, evening, Roy, and huge congrats on the 6 years. 6 years. Cheers to you, big guy. Fantastic always to have you in, Frank. You and Max and the team is just always amazing. Graham Mackay is here. Good to see Graham. I don't know which Graham that would be. Would that be the Graham Mackay from of Ardnamurchan fame? Or would it be the other Graham Mackay from the East Coast? Either way, oi oi Savaloy, it's good to have you in, Graham. Chris Grievous saying, evening all, congrats on the 6 year milestone. And Chris Brooker saying, good evening, fellow barflies, congratulations, Aquavita. 6 years of the vPub, Roy. Saturday will be my 1 year anniversary with the barflies too. Slancheva, cheers to you, Chris, and thanks for your support over the last year. Some celebrations rolling in from Mike Molasses. I've also got Alistair Gray celebrating being a member for 45 months. Scott Paget celebrating, just joining the Aquavita Barflies. Thank you very much, Scott. And Daniel Williams celebrating being a member for 35 months. Happy vPub anniversary, Roy. Here's to another 6, says Alistair. And 35, a happy anniversary, Roy, for Daniel's 35 months. The Barflies, what they are doing is they're joining the YouTube membership. If you're watching on an iPhone and an iPad, you might not have it, but if you're watching on your desktop or whatever, or your Android phone, there's a join button underneath and you join the Barflies. It's $1.99 a month in whatever your currency may be. And what that does is keeps me, I never put ads on. I never partner up with YouTube for ads. It keeps the vPub ad free. You never need to sit through ads, start, finish, in between, anywhere. It works brilliantly if you're picking up on the replay. And if you're watching live, I don't want you to sit through an ad when I click that go live button. So they keep it ad free. It's a no-brainer for me now. I'm now at the point where the barfly support that I get from the barflies, $1.99 a month, far exceeds anything I ever received from YouTube and ads. And for that, tonight, I am very, very grateful. Thank you all. Molasses bought me a dram, though, saying, peeking in now and then to escape the crazy extended family. Just wanted to wish you a big congrats on reaching the 6-year mark. Thanks for all you do for the community. Mike, the fact that you dropped in to buy my wee dram, despite you, and celebrating your Thanksgiving says so much. Mike, have a great Thanksgiving and thank you for your dram, buddy. Cheers. I'm sipping a nice one. I'm almost about to kill this bottle off. Oh, and a very generous dram has just dropped in from Jimmy Legg, saying, I can't tell you how much the people have changed my life. Not least of which you, my friend. Thanks to you all. Right, we're not going to get emotional tonight, Jimmy, are we? But thank you very much. I have been very neglectful of my legacy friends, the friends that have been around me for years before I started really doing anything in whiskey and get into whiskey. And it's just because of the time that this takes, yes, and how much I love it and how much I enjoy being a participant of it. But to all my friends out there that occasionally tune in that knew me before I did this, I'm still about, and I do think of you often. But these people in this community are magnificent. They are absolutely the best of people. And on Thanksgiving, I think that you couldn't want a better gift and something to be grateful for than this community and how wonderful you all are. Jimmy, that's far too generous of you, my friend. But I'll raise this glass to you and say thank you. Cheers. Whiskey Games, Matt Bishop celebrating being a member of the Barflies for 43 months. So joining the Barflies as well, you get access to lots of channel-themed emojis and things to colour up your chat or your comments underneath. And you get the wee coloured barflies and things that measures how much time. And obviously the people that have been here longest end up with a pink barfly. We can see Matt Bishop and also Jimmy Jazz, who's just gifted 20 Aquavita memberships to the Barflies. Jimmy, thank you so much. It's very, very generous of you. And Whiskey and Wine Trails, Tom is celebrating being a member for 18 months and saying, seems like much longer. Cheers to all. Duder Court has joined the Barflies. Thank you very much, Duder. Thank you for your support. And I do believe that could be a new name. And Whiskey Wolf has bought me a dram saying, happy anniversary and Thanksgiving, Roy. Congrats. Thank you very much, Whiskey Wolf, wherever you are. I'll raise this glass to you too. Welcome in. Cheers. All right, there is lots and lots of orange tonight. What I was reading out is obviously quite a wee while ago. I'll try and keep up with it as much as I can. It's just me tonight to run through 6 whiskies to celebrate 6 years, and they're all going to be, let's say, higher tier whiskies, more premium whiskies, premium pours, things that I suppose I'm asking you to think twice about things that you probably are going to ask yourself to think twice about buying them just because of the price they are in 2023. Now, that's got a lot to do with the price they are in 2023 versus where they were in 2020 and 2017 when the vPub started out. I guarantee they were a lot cheaper. Some of them were literally half the price. In those 6 years, we've seen some bottles of whiskey double in price or even more. It's just the way that whiskey has been over the last 6 years. It's the way whiskey's going generally. However, we do still love to have something a bit decadent, a bit indulgent, a bit nice, a bit of a treat, something special, something on the shelf that we know we can pour when we're in the mood to really, really treat ourselves, or maybe treat a VIP, a guest, or a very good friend, whatever it may be. I have discovered that my upper price limit still remains triple figures. If you ask me to spend more than £100 on a bottle of whiskey, I really do bite my lip. I think about it, I chew it over. It's not something I can do easily. Even something at 75, 80 and £90 is still a lot, isn't it? So when we hit that £100 mark and we slip over it, I think we really need to think twice and remember that it's just a bottle of whiskey. So if we are going to spend that money, how much does it deliver versus maybe its younger stable mates or some of its more affordable peers that sit out there? From the thumbnail, some of you will have an idea what whiskies I'm going to share with you tonight, but I'm going to kick tonight off with some stats because I've been doing the crunching in the background like I always do. I'm not going to you're not going to sit through pages of a presentation here, but I thought what I'd try and do is make the data and the price points that I'd put together some visual in some way and share it with you so that we could all kind of frame it and have it in our heads how much we are paying today for whiskies around the 18-year-old age statement. I'm not going to go above 18 years old. Quite honestly, 19, 20, 21 and beyond is out of reach for most of us. I'm not going to go to 15 or below because that's a kind of lower tier, a different tier. Most of that, fortunately, still sits underneath the £100, well underneath. But tonight, the 16-year, 17-year, but mostly 18-year-old core range distillery bottlings is where I'm going to focus. I'll bring up some stats with you in a second. KLG 223, Kim, that's Kim, in the States, has bought me a dram to say congratulations. Kim, I do believe that's the first time I've welcomed you in as well. Thank you very much for the generous dram. Cheers and nice to have you. And my pal Graham Fraser is showing off his pink barfly, being a member for 43 months and saying hi from North Berwick Whisky Club on Islay. I knew you'd be over there. I wondered if you'd be able to tune in. You're probably relaxing after another fantastic day. I saw you and Neil, Precarious Dave, and the glorious Graham Fraser over there on Islay. I saw some pictures floating in earlier. I will admit to being a wee bit jealous, boys. I hope you have a fantastic time. I know that you will. Taylor actually celebrating being a member for 25 months and he's saying happy. Not so big celebration for 6 years, Roy. Thank you very much, Taylor. Thank you so much. Cheers. Well, it's getting bigger. Thanks to glorious people like you've been in, Taylor. Thanks very much. Douglas Young is saying, evening, Roy. Fantastic achievement, 6 years with well-researched and thoughtful content. Thank you, Douglas. That means a lot. It really does. And it might be the first time I've welcomed you in as well, my friend. And the dark side is saying, I see Ralphie bottlings. Yes, there are Ralphie bottlings up here. This is a gift from Ralphie. You can see scribbled on it. He gave me this as a gift in gratitude for the effort in the Oswas this year. The Ardamurchan I purchased myself, and that, oh wow, look at what's happening here. Okay, I've just worked out what's going on. It's absurd that should happen. I was pointing at something. So let's see, how do you make a heart? Is it this? Oh, wow. So one of the reasons I upgraded, this is a fantastic story. I'll just take a minute out to explain this to you. This is incredible. This has happened. One of the reasons I upgraded to Sonoma is I was speaking to Gregor McQueen, and he came on. He's the host of the Dram Face podcast, and he's Time for a Dram, and he's a pal and one of the bottle chasers. He's just Gregor McQueen. He's a fantastic guy. And he came on and we're chatting about these things that you can do under these Mac operating system now, such as, you know, giving thumbs up and things like that. And suddenly a thumbs up appear, right? Like you see, I hope that's working for you. I'm not hallucinating, right? So I decided that Sonoma, okay, it was worth the risk, and I upgraded, and I lost the camera support, of course. But because I'm using my phone, it must be working. I don't have an M1 or M2 powered Mac. I have a 2019 Mac, which is Intel powered. So all that upgrade, it didn't give me these kind of nice little reactions and things for the video, right? So let's see if that's working. Does it? I think it's kind of in a huff for me now. Maybe it only worked for a second. So it was all worth. It wasn't worthwhile. It was just a kind of a few wee features, and it caused me more problems than it was worth. But because I'm using the phone, obviously, and it's a newer phone, maybe that's what's making it work. So let's celebrate that. Come on, work, work, work. As I was saying, oh my goodness. As I was saying, the bottle in the middle there is an older Ralphie bottling, a Kalila from a couple of years ago, or maybe just last year. Anyway, where was I? The bottles that I'm going to share with you tonight are currently out of sight, but you might have got a glimpse of them through the slightly blurry thumbnail. What I'm going to start with is some data points and start you off with the bottles that we're pretty familiar with on the vPub. So the ones that I'm going to hold as the kind of gatekeepers, if you like, the ones that have to be beaten, the benchmarks. And we can kick that off with my whiskey of the year. This is Tobermory's Leadchick 18-year-old. Just a fantastic whiskey. And somehow, thank you very much, CVH Spirits, somehow this and its stablemates from Deanston remain some of the best value whiskies that we can buy today. This is their 18-year-old at £85 in fully natural presentation. That and the fact that it's delicious is why it's my whiskey of the year. The feedback from most of you is very, very positive as well, which is always super reassuring. So that's our benchmark. We'll put it over there. Alongside it, it'll be joined by Arran's 18-year-old. Now, you remember that I think this new livery 18-year-old, the very dark sherry forward version of their 18-year-old, first appeared around about 2019, and it's been dearly loved by a lot of folk ever since. Something that I quite enjoy. I love that really kind of orangey forward Arran character, and it's quite unique as well. That's been a popular one. The previous bottle of the year, previous whiskey of the year from me, this is Inverhouse's Annock. Now, I know that you'll notice this one's sealed. It seems to have dried up. In the UK, it's very difficult to get a hold of an Annock. When we first started to talk about it, it was £75, £78 a bottle. When it finally started to dry up and disappear, it was about £98 a bottle. Basically, the word got out about this fantastic bottle of whiskey, and people started to buy it up. I think they've got some stock issues, and it may or may not return. And if it does return, we don't know at what price point. However, if you're in a market that you can still get your hands on Annock 18, know that there's going to be a bit of a stock issue with it, and you might want to pick one up if it's at a reasonable price, of course. And another two that's going to be our benchmark, our placeholders, if you like, the ones that what other bottles are going to have to stand up to, is this Deanston 18-year-old, the stablemate of the Tobermory Leadchick, as I mentioned earlier. Fully natural, 46.3% as well. Mostly ex-bourbon cask, but it goes through a finishing in first fill bourbon. It's always a strange one, but it remains a fantastic, a delicious, and a very, very easy to sip bottle of whiskey. That's going to be probably one of our lowest cost bottles that we talk about tonight, £75, £78 a bottle. And finally, I think I'll just kill this one off tonight, Speyburns 18-year-old. Absolutely love this stuff. You've heard me talk at length about Speyburn. The 15-year-old is a hugely celebrated bottle on this channel, and this is just that wee notch above. A little bit more sherry rich, a little bit more decadent. I think if I was to choose a favourite between the two, I maybe choose the 15 over this, honestly. But for somebody who really likes sherry character, there's much more sherry character in the 18-year-old, and a fully natural product at a very, very reasonable price. Again, similar price to the Deanston, £78, £80. Just fantastic value. Get it while it lasts. Interesting. We've got 5 bottles there, but only 3 producers. We've got Arran. We've got 2 from CVH Spirits. They used to be Distell, used to be Burn Stewart, but that's the Lechic and the Deanston. And then we've got Speyburn and Annock, which are both Inverhouse or International Beverage. Inverhouse bottlings. Just producers that are willing to try and keep things a wee bit integrity forward. But there are some interesting developments there, and we're going to start talking about them tonight. But I want to show you, I want to help you visualize what we're going to cover tonight by showing you the spread of the prices. Annock, for €97 in Germany, I think that's a decent price, Falsgraf, in today's market. I know it's a lot more than you were paying, but it's still good value, especially compared to its peers. Sachin Kenneth is in, saying, fantastic, Sachin. You mentioned the Talisker 57 North once, so I bought a bottle. I've just opened it now, and I love it. Thanks for the recommendation. Sachin, I'm a wee bit jealous. That Talisker 57 North, I think, was one of their best ever releases. That and the famous 2018 release, was it? Or 2018 8-year-old, the fully bourbon release of the special releases. But that 57 North was a cracking release from Talisker. I really do. It's a vague memory now, if I'm honest. But I'm glad you've got a bottle and I'm glad you're enjoying it. Okay, let's bring this up. I don't think I need to. Let's see. Okay. This is I think this is the best way to do this. Let's see if I can share this with you. What I want to do is just help you visualize this price band that we're in tonight, round about the 18-year-old age statement price band, how much we are paying in 2023. So the first thing I'm going to do, you might remember as part of the cast strength episode last week, we went through and we worked out that out of roughly 139, 140 distilleries in Scotland, that just shy of 100 of them were actively releasing whiskey. Out of that 95, 100, let's say, there were 77 that you could say has an active core range. And that's how we rationalized how many were actively bringing out cast strength. I think we were at a couple of dozen, weren't we? Well, I can tell you that out of that 77, out of those 77 core ranges, we've got close to 50 actually that have an 18-year-old age statement. And if it's not an 18, they have a 16 or 17. So let's have a look at who they are and let's have a look at the price spread. This is not exhaustive, but it's almost everything. So if we were to swing from the left of the right of this chart, those little orange dots represent the prices. And I appreciate that the labels, the prices that are on there, may be quite small for you. I can see what they are here, but they're pretty small just in order to fit it all in. But basically on the left-hand side, we run from £65, our entry-level price point there, which is Kilchoman's 16-year-old, the cheapest. Now, I know that Kilchoman's 16-year-old is very, very difficult for you to get, but this year, 16-year-old was available in the UK for weeks after it was released. There was plenty of it to go around this time. Okay, not enough for it to still be on the shelves today, of course not, but it is starting to stick a lot more. Anyway, it deserves to be on here. Kilchoman is one of the most inefficient producers out there. It's all in-house floor maltings, remember? All the maltings for Kilchoman for Glengyle are done at Springbank. And they don't rush anything. They can put a 16-year-old out there at fully natural presentation for £65. It's important that they kick off this chart because they are the ones that's kind of holding a mirror up to pretty much everyone else. Then the prices swing all the way up here. I'm not going to dwell on this one. There's too much detail here. They go all the way up until the hundreds and hundreds of pounds, just quite ridiculous. I think if we skip to the next one, where we parse things out a little bit, what I've done is I've split it down into things that an enthusiast might be interested in. And by that, I mean 46% ABV and above. Doesn't necessarily guarantee natural presentation, but it gives us a good indication that it might. By natural presentation, what we mean is we want it at 46% and above because there's a good chance that it's not being chill filtered, so everything is intact because there's nothing taken away. All those lovely kind of flavour, textures, or the mouthfeel, everything is likely to be intact with unchilled filtered whisky. And we hope that they've chosen not to colour it either. Not always the case though. Anyway, let's look at the ones that are below 46% ABV, the ones that we're not going to spend any time discussing tonight. On the left-hand side, we've got some fairly inexpensive releases from the likes of Aberfeldy, £6 to £8. At 40% ABV. The vast majority of these are 40% ABV, some are 43% ABV, and it goes all the way up. We've only got 3, 6, 9, 10. We've got 10 under £100. So we've got the Jura 18, Nakhandu 18, Lagavulin 16, Singleton 18, Auchentoshan 18, Glenfiddich 18, and Aberfeldy's 18. All of those under the £100 mark. The first one, the Aberfeldy that opens, by the way, is a 16-year-old, which is why it's got 2 wee asterisks there. Then we've got a few round about the £100 mark. Then it jumps up to 125, and then the ones over at the end is just crazy. We've got Glendronach's Allardyce now up at £170. The last time I bought a bottle of that, it was £89, £90. Then we've got Talisker's doubled in price in the last year, 18 months at £180. And then we see all the foolishness up here at the right, extreme right-hand side. We've got £300. That's for Dalmore's 18-year-old. Just nonsensical. Then we've got 325 for Macallan's Double Oak. And the one up there on its own is Macallan's Sherry Oak, the most expensive 18-year-old that's out there in the market. Macallan seem to think it's worth it, and it must be selling because other people seem to be buying it, I guess. Certainly it's not something that's existed on the Aquavitae shelves ever. That's not what we're interested in. Here's what we are interested in. This is a much flatter spread, much more interesting. There are a couple up there at the extreme end, but we'll get to those in a second. What we're going to focus on now are things that are above 46% ABV. Some people may choose to call that natural whiskey or integrity bottlings, whiskies that meet the ABCDs, however you refer to it, things that are more interesting for the enthusiast. These things are not a guarantee of enjoyment. But experience tells us over time, the things that we tend to have the most enjoyment with tend to be natural whiskies. So the blue dots down the bottom tell us the ages of these products. So we've got a few in here that are 16 years old. We've got Kilchoman 16, Laphroaig 16-year-old, and right at the other end, we've got Kilchoman's 16-year-old recently released alongside Fetter Cairn, I notice as well. There's a couple, 1 or 2 17-year-olds as well. Balvenie's Peat. We've got Craigellachie 17-year-old. So, but everything else is 18 years old. The ones that I've just shared with you appear here. These are the whiskies that I've mentioned to you already. The Deanstons, the Speyburns, the Anochs, things like that. There's another one in there that's maybe going to appear a wee bit later, that £103 actually, for that Longmorn 18 years old. Where I'm going to focus on tonight is moving things up a little bit. So these blue squares, these are the ones I'm going to focus on this evening. So you can see Tomatin's 18-year-old, Craigellachie's 17-year-old, Balvenie's 17-year-old, Week of Peat, Arran's brand new 17-year-old, and Old Pulteney's 18-year-old. So I'm moving into the mid-range. If we looked earlier, Kilchoman 16 has been on the vPub many times. Much celebrated, difficult to get hold of. Glenmurray has also appeared their 18-year-old heritage at 46% ABV, a very attractive proposition. If you love Glenmurray, their 18-year-old is a real treat, an incredible value at £73 a bottle. Fetter Cairn's 16-year-old, it's been on the vPub. I've compared it to the old 16, the new 16, talked about how it's moved much more naturally and how it's something to celebrate, and that's a decent price point for it too. Laphroaig 16, not available in all markets, I believe. It's appeared in the past. It's a wee bit more expensive than Lagavulin 16, but remember they're giving us a wee bit more ABV at 48%. Still, at £89, I can understand how some people might be drawn to it and others not so much. Then we've got Loch Lomond's 18-year-old, who's also featured on past vPubs at £90. So everything up until that Anoch 18 and even that Longmorn 18, everything on the left of this chart has been featured on previous vPubs. So it's natural that I'm going to move up a little bit. It's just a shame that I'm having to spend these prices today. It's just a wee bit more. than I would otherwise be comfortable with, right? It's just the way it is today, I'm afraid. I've lost your comments. Let's bring up those comments as I do all these, and we can pull that away. So we've got a visualization now. This is the price of the 18-year-old price band. So it's basically running from £70 of that order all the way up to, well, due to one or two really quite stupidly priced whiskies, honestly, very, very high. But if we cap it, if we get rid of those, we go up to about £175 of that order. I'm not going to focus on anything above 125. That's my upper limit. I didn't spend 125 for any of my bottles. I tried hard to get them for 100. I managed it on a couple of them. And the ones I had to pay a wee bit more than £100 for, I didn't spend any more than 120. In fact, the most expensive bottle that I have to share with you tonight is the first one I'm going to bring up. And that is Arran's brand new 17-year-old. Jump into the crowd and say, Danny Hebbington is here saying, I bet that Kilchoman costs more to produce per bottle than that Macallan too. That's the crazy thing. I would hazard a guess that that's the case as well, Danny, honestly, despite how much they say they spend on wood and everything at Macallan. But remember, the operation at Macallan is pretty vast as well. However, Springbank employ 100 people. 100 people to produce 260,000 litres at Springbank, and I don't know how much they produce. It's probably sub 100,000 litres that they're producing at Kilchoman, and they employ 100 people to do it. And Whisky Veritas, Oliver, so great to see you in. Macallan is a bargain if Dalmore is worth its price. Well, we know the story there. If anybody's tried a Dalmore, whether it's the cigar malt, whether it's the King Alexander, whether it's the 12 or the 15 or the Portwood, whatever it is, tell me if they give you the type of excitement to go and spend hundreds of pounds on their 18-year-old. I mean, it's just 300 quid. What? It's nonsense. Ian Bruce is saying it would be interesting to see which markets the overly expensive bottles are being bought, or even if it's mainly bars, hotels rather than individuals. I think it's wealthy individuals. I think it's maybe, and I don't want to judge, but sometimes I feel like it might be a little bit myopic to just continually buy brand after brand after brand when we're speaking about single malt whiskey. But that's because I'm an enthusiast and I'm looking at it through the enthusiast lens. So some people, they just know that the flavour, they know that they love the stuff, they know it's maybe indulgent, but they're just picking it up, they're buying the same brand. But there are certain global markets that are all about Macallan. There's no doubt about it. And that's where Dalmore are trying to, and often successfully playing to. Whisky Weekend Dram Harrow is saying, hi Aquavita, a bit late but interesting topic. Old Pulteney 18 is a good one. You will find that featuring tonight. And Herban is saying, what a great analysis. Thank you, Herban. Marcus Christensen has bought me a wee dram to say, well done 6 years. Thank you for a great time at the Glasgow Whisky Festival weekend, and hopefully see you again in the near future. Marcus, so that's not the Marcus. There's a couple of Marcuses there, aren't there? Did we meet Marcus? Could you be Marcus? No. Okay. Regardless, thank you very much for the dram, buddy. I'm glad you had a good time at Glasgow, and thank you for the kind words. Cheers. Whisky Games is saying, why doesn't Whyte Mackay reduce the price of Dalmore and Fettercairn and increase Jura? One company, same profits, then we all benefit. Yeah. Jura has become the best-selling whiskey in the UK, the best-selling single malt whiskey in the UK. That is a very, very successful strategy for them. I'm more kind of wondering how they can justify a 16-year-old at £80 from Fettercairn and an 18-year-old at more than double the price. That's a wee bit weird. I think it's all to do with the markets and the people that it's pointed at. I'm not sure. But Fettercairn seems to be something that's come closer to us, and I'm almost scared to prod it too hard in case it runs away again. Really enjoying Fettercairn. Their Warehouse series releases have been really interesting, more or less affordable, very kind of geek-powered, geek-driven. The new 16-year-old was just a wonderful whiskey. I loved it. Fettercairn's got this lovely, lovely tropical style, but they're still lineups there, still things in the lineup there that's just a wee bit too odd or too expensive or not pointed to us. So there's a kind of transitional brand thing going on there. Dalmore is just not pointed at us whatsoever. And Tamnavulin is a wee bit like Jura. It's something that's going to be sold fairly inexpensively throughout multiples. And Tamnavulin and Jura have both done a very, very good job bringing folk into single malt whiskey. So it might not be the type of things that we collect a lot of on our shelves, but it's doing a decent job. So I wonder if they started to overcharge for that, how successful a strategy it would be. Yeah, don't talk about fair cairn, they'll up the price, says Chris Pollack. Listen, it's always a philosophy that I've had, Chris, is that we have to celebrate what's doing it right. And if they're successful, fantastic, they deserve the success. If they put up the prices or it goes out of reach for some reason, then we hope that somebody else will see the success and follow suit and bring us something interesting. Maybe that's a wee bit naive on my part, but I think that that's what we do as a community. We get together to share and celebrate the stuff that's good. I know, Chris, that you're just saying that tongue-in-cheek, but you do make a good point. And Boomer is saying, Marcus from Springbank. Okay, so it is. So I know his surname is not as Christensen. I know his surname is something else. So Marcus, it's brilliant to have you in, buddy, and thanks for the dram. Excess to Scotch is saying, Annock 24 for €125 is a great dram. Well, we were getting that for 110 here, 115 in the UK a year or two ago. And it went up to 140. The last time I saw it was 150. In March this year, at the start of this year, cousin Kevin and I were on Isla together, and we found it for £98 in a flash sale, and I picked up a bottle of it. Just incredible value, incredible whiskey too. Complex. Multi-mission price setting is plain weird, even if you don't take local taxes into the equation. Your £80 Indri from last week, I picked up today for €65, £60. Kilchoman 16 is around 80 to €100 here. It's so frustrating. Please remember, everyone that tunes in, I speak about things from a UK perspective. It's just really the only perspective that I have. And then you kind of extrapolate that out to your local market, I guess. But price will always be a factor of how I judge whiskies. A whiskey could be genuinely fabulous, but what's the point if I can never buy it? What's the point if I can never recommend that you buy it? What's the point in talking about unicorns? I just don't get it. There are people out there with much more disposable income and they don't care about the price. I understand that, but that's not the community I'm interested in building or being part of. I don't want to judge or be anything. It's just that I don't see how I can bring a value to that. Does that make sense? Anyway, this is the most expensive Arran I think I've bought, with the exception of the 25. I did buy an Arran 25-year-old. I treated myself a year or so ago. This Arran 17-year-old has appeared on the market very, very recently. So it says down there at the bottom, limited edition, one of 12,000 bottles. All the usual Arran specs, non-chill filtered, natural colour, and a lovely, lovely, rich kind of bronze colour it is too. It's coming quite red on the camera, and in life it's not quite as red as it's shown on the camera. It's a little bit more bronze. 46% ABV, £117. Now, the last time I bought Arran 18, I've got a bottle here, tucked in here with a wee drop left in it, and a bottle over here with just barely a dram left in it as well, a couple of drams left in it. Not much of it left. Clearly been enjoying it, but I never paid over £100 for either of those bottles. What's happened here is this 17, it turns out, is a replacement for Arran's 18-year-old, just for this year. Now, I'm just going to pour wee drops tonight because I've got 6 or 7 drams to get through. So let me explain. Especially when it's an independent company or a small-scale producer, the likes of Glengyle, Springbank, Arran, you very, very quickly realise by visiting them, and you ask to see their stocks of 25-year-old and 30-year-old or whatever it may be, the really mature stuff, you're really shocked at how very, very little there is. There is not a lot of mature stock. And that makes sense, doesn't it? Because they lay down whiskey, 3 years old, it becomes whiskey, they can start to use it, but they don't, they leave it there. Then they take a chunk out of it for the 10-year-old. and then they take a chunk out of it for their 12 or their 15 or whatever it is, and then all the different special editions or whatever it may be. By the time it gets to 15 years old, there's hardly any left. 18 years old, 21 years old and beyond, it just becomes less and less and less. You might remember one of the vPub guests in the past was James MacArthur from Arran, and he came on and he told us that he started in 2007, and one of the first things that he started to do was really start to take care of stock management and wood management and all of these kind of things. That only kicked in 2007, which is about 16 years ago. So when we're up at the 18-year and beyond mark at Arran, what they have in stock is just what they have in stock. There's nothing they can do to increase that. There's nothing they can do to buy in stock or buy it from anyone else. They just have what they have. In 2019, they started to release their 18-year-old again. We're up in 2023, and they simply don't have the depths of stock in order to release that 18-year-old. So rather than release nothing, what they've done is release a 17-year-old. So fair play to Arran, fantastic. My problem with this bottle is at £117, it's a bit pricey. We've lost a year, and we're paying more than we've had to in the past. I suspect the 18-year-old would have been up in that £117 ballpark. So what do we have on this 17? We have almost everything that the 18 gives us. But, and remember what I've just said about the Speyburn 18, my preference is the 15-year-old over the Speyburn 18, because I think there's a slightly different dimension to this Arran. And I am not uncorking these tonight. This is not an uncorking vPub. There's nothing wrong with uncorking and giving you my first impressions and things. But I've been sitting with these over the last few days because I want to give it something of a review. I think that where the Arran 18 has been very, very sherry rich, very American oak to my palate, sweet sherry rich. This has got something a wee bit different. It seems to have a wee bit more of a toasted element, a wee bit more char. It's leaning me a wee bit more to a treacle toffee note rather than that kind of sweet red fruit, cooked fruit, berries and prunes and plums on the 18. That is in here. All those notes that I mentioned are in here, but there's also a nice an extra dimension, something a wee bit fresher or brighter. But everything about Arran is intact here. It's just oranges. It's orange, orange, orange all day long. Sweet orange, orange syrup, orange oils, orange cordial. It's very orangey spirit. I often find Arran very orangey. And that makes sense. What we have here is a mix of bourbon and sherry casks that have been married together for 6 weeks in first fill sherry casks. Whether those are Oloroso or PX or a mix, I'm not very sure, but they've simply been vatted and then married together in cask for 6 weeks. And that's why we have our special edition 17. Cheers, everyone. I've got all my notes in front of me as I've been tasting these throughout the week. Every night I've been sitting down, they've been revealing something else, a wee added extra. And simply because I've been making the notes night by night, I've been able to go back and rediscover all the things that I found in previous nights, as well as uncover a wee bit more. I hope occasionally you do that. I don't expect everybody to be of the mind to sit down and write tasting notes, but give it a go, give it a try. The more you practice nosing and tasting whiskey, I think the more you get out of whiskey. You don't have to analyze your whiskey, not all the time, not every pour, of course not. But occasionally, if you're wondering how to kind of up your game on parsing out flavor notes and tasting notes and qualities in the whiskey, grab a wee pen and paper, grab yourself a wee tasting notebook and just indulge every now and again. Keep it broad brush to begin with, and you can begin to become more and more specific as time goes on. I've made lots of notes on chocolate, milk chocolate specifically, orange chocolate, funnily enough. And those are all here tonight. The barrel char thing, the burnt sugar, the caramel, honeycomb, so cinder toffee, that type of note. Cinder toffee is an excellent note. I don't know what you call it where you are, but we have crunchies in the UK with honeycomb candy in the middle. We can just buy honeycomb candy on its own, and it's just, but that's very like this. What I have discovered about all of the whiskies, with one exception, there's not a lot of malt, there's not a lot of cereal. I've got to dig quite deep for the kind of cereal elements, and I suppose that makes some sense given the age and given the cask profiles that they've come from. Anyway, this is a decent pour. A very decent pour. And it does incidentally bring something extra to the 18-year-old, over the 18-year-old. But I don't know how easy it is for me to run and tell you that you're going to get something much, much better or more interesting for your £117. Consider if you picked up and enjoyed Arran's 18, you're definitely going to enjoy this. Know that it's not quite as sherry leaning as this one, but it's close. And the £117, I don't even know, I think it's still available. I bought this direct from Arran's website. At that time, it was the only place you could buy it. I don't know if it's the 12,000 bottles are going to make it out into the wider market, but this is what's in place of the 18-year-old for 2023. I'm told that the 18-year-old will be back next year. We just need to wait and see when that's going to come around. Whyte Hemphill is insane. Turkey and ham cooked and resting. 3 grandchildren and parents about to stuff themselves more than the turkey. Happy evening, Barfly. Sounds fantastic, Whyte. Sounds amazing. I hope you have a great, great night. Gavs Rams is saying hello. Just in, was at Cadenheads tonight, tasting in Edinburgh. Have I missed much? Not much at all, Gav. Nothing that you can't pick up in the replay, buddy. I hope you're keeping well, my friend. It's good to see you in. A wee shout out for Gavs Rams. One of my most indulgent things to do is watch this man sit in a wee corner of his whiskey room and just straight from the cuff, open bottles of whiskey, really, really quite special, often really nice bottles of whiskey. He's clearly a Cadenheads fan as well, and just riff. Gav, I love what you do, buddy. You should keep it up. I hope you do. Brian Storm is saying, evening, Roy and Barflies. Just tuning in as work ran over. We'll watch Rest on Replay off tomorrow, so Glengoyne is in the glass. Fantastic, Brian. I hope you enjoy that wee Glengoyne. And aye. Work always gets in the way, pesky work, right? Nice to have you drop by and say hello. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Thanks, Sugar Kitty, for putting a wee link in there to Gav's Drams. You're always on it. Thank you so much. Superb. Gav's Drams on YouTube. All right, this one I'm familiar with, of a sort. I am vaguely familiar with. It's been a long, long time since I've had this. The first time I had it, I felt it was too expensive. Buying it this time, I feel like it's a wee bit too expensive. But what's amazing and what's going to be a theme throughout tonight is these whiskies that I'm sharing with you that all once upon a time seemed too expensive. All the other whiskies have caught up with them in price. And that's a weird thing to happen, because that means that if we're going to buy an 18-year-old whiskey, suddenly the choice is opened up. Not because those whiskies have become cheaper, but because the less expensive whiskies have moved into their price band. You might have worked out that I'm speaking to you about one of the Dewar's products, Craigellachie's 17-year-old. This is a standard core range product, and their 13-year-old is always, it's a perma-shelf item. It's just a fantastic, great value entry-level whiskey, usually about £50. Sometimes nudges a wee bit north of 50, but usually you can get it less. Right about the £50 mark, fully natural presentation, and just a unique and fantastic malt whiskey. Craigellachie 13 is a cracker. Craigellachie at older ages are even better. The problem with Craigellachie at older ages, and it's got a lot to do with how little stock there exists, is the price point. The 23-year-old, even when it was launched, it was ridiculously expensive, and it's only gotten more expensive since. I had one bottle of 23-year-old in my life, and it's because I got it as a bargain at auction. That doesn't happen anymore. But the 17-year-old, I think the original price I paid would have been maybe going back to £78, £80, something like that. And I'm probably going back 5 years. This cost me 110. Now, that was a wee special offer. You probably have to spend a wee bit more. In fact, let's look at the prices I've got here for Craigellachie's. 106 actually. So you can still pick it up. There's obviously a few offers floating around. So £106 of that order. I'm almost tempted to say not too bad a price, but I'm checking myself. It's a 17-year-old malt whiskey and it's over £100. That's just, it's 2023. It's where we are. And I have to be honest with you. That was messy. When I've been pouring these, so I had some on Monday night, I had some on Tuesday night, and I had some last night. And I've just been pouring wee tablespoons of each and just getting through them so you can see how many drams I've taken out of this bottle, for example, this week. Just getting my head around it for tonight's vPub. And as we were pouring them, this Craigellachie was one of two in particular that I was very, very, very keen to sip again. Let's see if I get the same hit from this that I do every time I stick my nose in this glass. I'm just coating the glass nicely. Just making sure that it's the only thing I'm going to nose when I stick this glass up at my face is the whiskey. Yep. So this is one of the younger whiskies. It's one of the 17-year-olds that we'll try tonight. But this noses much older. And the reason it noses older is that there's an element of dunnage and old money, old library, old leather, old wood, old polished wood, just patina. That's what this whiskey smells of. So there's tobacco here, rich tobacco, and almost like, you know, a cigar in a cigar box type element. A terrific, rich, decadent. It's the type of thing if you were to put this in front of someone who was fairly experienced in whiskey, of course, and asked them, I think they would immediately feel that they were sipping something really quite special. It's much fruitier tonight, a lot more fruit. There's just a lovely body to Craigellachie. There's just a firmness, a robustness, a roundness, and there's detail here. So where some of the whiskies that I'm having, such as the Arran, and another couple of ones that we'll sip going forward, they're quite a smooth experience. And when I say smooth, I'm speaking about not because they lack complexity in any way, but they're just very, very. They're quite a clean, linear delivery of flavour. Whereas this Craigellachie's got a prickle to it, it's got a grit to it, it's got something extra, something that you're looking for as an enthusiast, something interesting to hook you rather than just soft whiskey. My tasting notes. I said that I got soft flat cola. Yeah, sweet apple and stewed pears, cinnamon spiced, cigar box, elegant poised, tobacco, old leather, wax, dunnage. All here, all here. And I've written here more detailed, well-aged, dark honey and golden syrup. So I think the golden syrup's the only dud there. That would suggest a really quite sweet thing. This is more baking spiced and wood spiced than sweet, I would say. What I'm going to do with these tonight is I'm going to score them. Dramface scoring. So anybody that reads Dramface, I hope that there's a lot of you in here that reads Dramface daily. most days of the week. Some weeks it's the least that we do is 4 days out of 5. There's content published on Dramface. Most weeks it's 5 out of 5 working days. And it's always bottle reviews. Additionally, you'll see occasional features. There was 2 cracking features. One went out in the Glasgow Whisky Festival, and another one went out, a quite well researched one on peat and sustainability. Dramface is just an enthusiast site built and written by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. There's a lot of effort goes into Dramface. I hope you enjoy it. I really hope you do. But the scoring system there can seem a wee bit brutal. And the reason it is that we want to we don't want everything choked up at the kind of top end between 80 points and 95, right? For the 100-point scale. We want to kind of stretch out and use the scoring scale. So we went with a 10-point scale, similar to a lot of other sites out there. Not too different. We've got a page on the scoring system and whatever. But I would score the Arran 17 a 7 out of 10, which is very good indeed on the Dramface scale. But I'm very, very tempted for this Craigellachie to. I've written 7/8 here. I think I'm tempted just sipping it tonight again. It keeps bringing that same thing for me again. This is quite an indulgent, decadent thing. I think the Craigellachie probably deserves a nudge more. Sometimes I wish the Dramface scoring had 7.8, something like that. But no, this is enough to get it up to an 8 on the Dramface scale. Really, really quite good. But of course, what I'm going to have to do is share with you at some point tonight how many of these newer whiskies I'm trying can break into this lineup. And I'll share that at the end. Jay Vaughan is celebrating being a member for 30 months. Jay Vaughan, it might be the first time I've welcomed you in, but he's saying taking a vPub break for my turkey coma. So he's lobbed up, filled his belly with turkey. Hopefully you've got a digestive dram in your hand to help that digestion along. And thank you very much for supporting us being part of the Barflies for the last 30 months. I've also missed a dram from Sachin. He's saying, thanks for all the vPubs you do, Roy. Slancha. Sachin, if you're really interested, wait till the end, because just before the quiz tonight, I'm going to share with you some scary stats on just how many vPubs there have been over the years. Yerban is saying, wow, Aquavite, with the Craigellachie, you're describing how my dreams study should smell. Yes, it is like that. It very much is. Listen, I've not focused much on fruit in that Craigellachie. There are fruits there, but they're kind of, I don't know, they're like cooked fruits, like jams and things like that. But what you're imagining there, that word I used, patina, that something that's old, it's like that. It's sitting in an old leather chair at an old wooden bureau that's been polished and polished and polished over the years, and it's just in the air. There's a dankness, there's a fustiness, as would say in Scots. That's kind of reminiscent of what the Craigellachie is, which is remarkable given that it's a 17-year-old malt. And it is remarkable. It really is. Anyway, we should move on and see if we can get through. It's quite interesting over the 6 years. I remember the first couple of years pre-COVID, there used to be an obsession about getting the vPub under 2 hours. Under 2 hours, I always felt that if it went over 2 hours, that would be off-putting to anybody to step in and watch. COVID taught me to relax about that. The lockdown taught me to relax about the time. If people were willing to invest in a 90-minute, 2-hour live stream and understand what the value proposition was, that it wasn't typical YouTube content, they would probably be willing to invest a little bit of time in a 3-hour stream. So we always make that joke, let's see if we can get it under 2 hours, right? That's been going for years, and I can't remember the last time I managed to get a vPub in at less than 2 hours. I doubt it's going to be tonight, since we're already an hour in. Let's clip on to the next one. What order should I do this in? Yes, let's just do it in this order. This is one that I have had in the past, much like the Craigellachie, but I didn't feel a need to replace it. I didn't really feel that it was, there was so many other whiskies out there. I enjoyed my time with it, but there's so many other whiskies out there to have that I just moved on, I guess. Anyway, this was scored very, very high. This was given a 9 out of 10 recently in Dramface. and my curiosity was piqued. As if I needed any more convincing, as I was browsing online, this bottle popped up with about £15 off its price on a flash sale. So I picked this up for sub £100. I picked it up for about 95 quid, I think. This is Tomatin's 18-year-old. Oloroso sherry casks, it says on the label. But let me tell you, it's an odd thing, because this Tomatin 18 is there is a sherry influence in here. There's a clear statement of sherry here. But out of the whiskies I'm sharing with you tonight, maybe with one exception, this is probably the least sherry forward. Sipping this in contrast with the others, it really, really stands out. And it stands out in a sometimes weird way. This Tomatin is odd, acidic, bitter, sweet, sour, sour, bitter, sweet, all over the place, and yet utterly Moorish. Very, very weird. Very, very weird. When I first sipped it in contrast with the others, the first night I had it, Monday night, it was a lineup of 5 all at the same time. On Tuesday night, I split it out, early evening, late evening. Last night, early evening, late evening. But I sipped this in a lineup on Monday night, and it stood out as being completely different, a completely different value proposition from the others. Let's see. Let's coat the glass a wee bit. But I knows it straight away. It's like a beeswax. It's like a beeswax, honey. But also, there's also that strange, and because it's there now, and because I'm looking for it every time, that strange, almost acidic, maybe not acidic, but maybe olive oil or something with a really, really curious bitterness to it. Now, anybody that knows that malt whiskey, when you do get some bitterness there, it can be really quite captivating. It can be a fantastic part of malt. And it's because it doesn't feel like it's that horrible bitterness you'll get from oak. It feels more like a seasoning, something that's just an edge. Clearly there's sherry forward things here. There's maple syrup here. Grapes and grape juice. So it is maybe a wee bit winey. Anyway, this has been another one that I've loved rediscovering. Toffee, butterscotch, caramels. Marzipan, there's some spice there. Wow, that's just a whole new thing. There's like almost cardamom. Turmeric and things, just really, it's just an odd, savory, like that sour, sweet, bitter, that kind of love the transition, love the development. Weird as hell, gorgeous for it. Robert Brotherton, that looks like a new name, Robert. COVID is a silver lining. I get to catch the vPub live. Many thanks from Osroy and the content you produce. Robert, I'm so sorry to hear that you're suffering, buddy. I hope that it's not too bad, and I hope you recover very, very quickly. Here's to your health. Slancha to you, Robert. It could be the first time I've welcomed you. And Reb Mordecai is here. Roy, can you detect sherry matured in American oak with the Craigellachie 17? I have to say the Craigellachie 17 is a wee bit more of a shapeshifter. I wouldn't suggest American or European. I think the profile to me is a mix of both. Helen's saying a posh, dirty dram aquaviti, fabulous. And Jimmy Legg is saying age does round off a lot of whiskies, but some improve and stay edgy, and those are the ones I like. I have to say, I think that's exactly what this is. It's something that's got a nice edge to it. It's not something I associate with Tomatin generally. I think it's specific to this bottle, maybe recent batches of the 18. Maybe this is what the writer, who was it? It was Brodie in Dramface that gave it such a high score. Maybe that's what he's detecting. I should have gone back and read it. Ordinary Dane, that looks like a new name. Aquaviti, what do you think about the Kilchoman 16 so high priced? Let's have a wee look at that again, shall we? So here we are. The blue boxes are the ones that I'm sharing with you tonight. Up at the top end there, just out of shot, we've got Fettercairn's 18-year-old, which is exceptionally high. I think the Fettercairn 18, I'll be able to tell you in a second. I think it's up at £199 or something like that, £200. And on the right-hand side, the most extreme one is Kilchoman with two asterisks next to it. That's a 16-year-old. So it's one of the youngest, but it's over £200. Since you've asked, Ordinary Dane, let's pause on that for a second. Kilchoman seemed to be at that point where everything was just coming together. The Mackay Bay was a rediscovery for me in the last year. Fantastic whiskey, just wonderful. One of Isla's guardians, really coming of age. Everybody banging on about Sanig made me finally buy a bottle of Sanig. You tuned into a recent vPub. I enjoyed that immensely, and I continue to enjoy it. So we've got Sanig there. We've got the Mackay Bay. We've got the special releases coming out. We've got wonderful stuff building, fan base, people really invested in it. And then what happens? What's happened? They've put out a £35 bargain bucket supermarket whiskey, natural presentation, you know, credit where credit's due, £35. I have yet to try it. I will try it. I will go out and try it, and I won't judge until I do try. But the feedback I'm getting from the community is, oh my goodness, this is wrong. It's like they've wound the clock back 15 years at Kilchoman. That's the feedback I'm getting. I'm not in a hurry, and it's only £35, but I'm not in a hurry to go and burn £35 on something that's going to sit on my shelf for years. Maybe I'll try a wee sample of it. Maybe I'll buy a bottle at a bar or something. It's like a supermarket exclusive in the UK now. And then at the opposite end, we have this really strange thing going on where they release 16-year-old malt whiskey at £200, north of £200. Now, as I've already explained when I'm talking about Springbank and Glengyle and Arran and lots of distilleries right across the landscape, there's not a lot of that old stock, especially with Kilchoman. They had the worst time trying to lay down stock to mature when there was such a demand for their whiskey in the immediate moment. They were always challenged. I guarantee you that Kilchoman have sold that 16-year-old stock when it's utterly at its most precious. There's very little of it there. So they feel that they are at a point where they can, just through scarcity alone, they can charge over £200. And that makes sense. It's their business to do so. But consider the optics. Consider all the fans that have been invested in Kilchoman from the beginning and buying everything that they put out and celebrating them and shouting about them and convincing their friends to enjoy it too. The people that have been invested in that distillery from the beginning are the people who have helped that distillery grow. Hearing that 16-year-old, there isn't much of it and we need to charge this, doesn't suddenly mean that those fans and those invested people are suddenly going to have more money in their wallet to spend on the whiskey. It's been taken away from them. And I know that that smarts. The amount of people I met, the whiskey that was spoken about more than any other at the Glasgow Whisky Festival was that 16-year-old Kilchoman. I felt sorry for the staff on the stand. And it wasn't spoken about in a positive way. I tasted it and I thought it was good. I thought it was very good, honestly. There's no way I'm buying a bottle. I'm not interested in buying a bottle. It's not that price good. But because a lot of people were tasting it at the festival, they were saying it was bad because they're looking at it through the lens of £200 worth of whiskey. And they're considering, how can I get this? Only if it's really, really good. And the feedback wasn't that it was that good. Listen, I wish Kilchoman the best of luck. They need to go forward. They need to continue going from strength to strength and building on what they've built over the years and years and years. But coming out with a supermarket release at 35 quid that people are not enjoying and a super hyped, overpriced whiskey at the exact same time is odd. Very odd. I just hope that everything in the middle remains rock solid and on track because those two decisions are weird to me. Those two decisions seem to be all about money immediately. Those two decisions are nothing about building on the 18 years of legacy that they've built to build up that rock solid core. It's a misstep for Kilchoman. That's how I feel today. Seaweed World, that's Sherry. Good to see you, Sherry. She's bought me a dram as well. No comments or anything, but Sherry, I appreciate your dram, and I hope you're doing very well. Cheers to you. That's Tomatin is just interesting in a very, very positive way. So that Arran is a 7. Like I say, I'm going to push the Craigellachie to a high 7 and into an 8. It's an 8. This Tomatin is an 8 for me, based on the Dramfee scoring. Just a very, it's that bitterness, it's that bitter edge, just brings so much interest to it. That slightly savoury side to it too. It's a really different take on sherry. I think it's a good take on sherry. Very good, very good. Poured a wee bit much of it as well. It's got quite a bit in the glass. Mark Goins is in, celebrating being a member for 45 months. Happy 6 years. So glad to be a part of it. Mark, you might find that, I don't want to give anything away. There might be a wee quiz question aimed squarely at you a wee bit later, my friend. Thank you for being here, and thanks for being a part of it for so long. Feels like you've been around since the beginning. So ordinary day, and there you go. I went off on a wee mini rant. I hope that that's okay for everyone. How would you compare the Tomatin 18 to the Speyburn 18? And the latter, I always get sweet plums and very dark chocolate. I would agree with you there. There are no sweet plums or dark chocolate that I can detect in the Tomatin. Very different animal, really quite a different experience in a very good way. The sherry cask thing here feels much more in balance. I feel like there's a lot more refill sherry in here. I just feel like it's just not a big sherry wash. I think there's real character in here. When I was talking about the spirit having a voice still after 16, 17, 18 years, and not being all kind of lost to time or cask, I think that this is the one that portrays that best. There is still something in here. In fact, it's the only one that I made any kind of cereal or malt notes. Raisins, nuts, trail mix, sharper, brighter. Apples, creamy, acidic, sharper. Tinned mandarin, tinned peach. Cooked apples. Creosote, oiliness, and a bitterness throughout. Creosote. When did I write that? Perhaps the most interesting whiskey in the lineup, honestly. Whiskey Wolf is saying, would you say the Tomatin 18 is worth €82? That's 75 quid. Yes, Whiskey Wolf. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Bear in mind, not all the Tomatin range is natural, but this is natural, 46% ABV as well. And at that price, I mean, obviously you're in Germany, right? To be picking it up at that price, you must be in the German market. Just terrific. Does the Daft Mill 15 get a pass on its price? No, not really. It doesn't. I indulged myself this year, David. If I had Francis on, he endeared the thing so much to me by telling me it wasn't that good. So it's the first time I've pushed the boat out on something like that. Interestingly, I haven't paid for that yet. Save if you're watching, I've been reminded. I'll sort you out. It's easy to get things when you buy it on credit, right? So yes, I would struggle to recommend anybody to spend £175 on a 15-year-old product, even if it's Daft Mill, even if it's presented the way that it is. All of those things, I still think that. But I've tried it a couple of times now. Glasgow Whisky Festival weekend, Legfest weekend, and it's good. It's good whiskey. It doesn't get a pass on the price, no, but it's just good whiskey. Okay. Only a couple more to go before I reveal to you the whiskey that I think all of the whiskies I've been sipping all week is going to have a hard time beating. Despite the fact that it's always been too pricey for me, and despite the fact that that price has bumped up again recently, but I still bought it. When you find something you love, you become a sucker, honestly. And that's what's happened to me with this bottle. I'll share it with you at the end. And it will be the only one that I uncork tonight. Okay, let's move into the richest sherry one I'm going to share with you tonight, based on my experience so far this week. This is Old Pulteney. Old Pulteney's 18-year-old. Again, and everything, I think they all have it in common, 46%. Of course, the Burn Stewart Distill, they bottle at 46.3. But everything's 46%. This has been the most sherry forward of them all. This is the most, and you know, it's difficult to tell whether that would be American oak or European oak sherry, but that kind of old school, just really rich, thick, heavy, almost syrupy, syrupy sherry style. This is quite active sherry casks. I would suggest there's quite a bit of first fill sherry in the mix here, in this Old Pulteney 18. Not a lot of details on it. Double matured in ex-bourbon and Spanish oak casks, intense and warming with a hint of sea air. The sherry is at forefront here. Black tea, fruit tea. So obviously I'm picking up some tannins there. My notes, what are we saying here? Deep, dark, rich sherry notes, prunes, sweet plums. Aye, definitely prunes and juice. Plums tonight, if there are plums there, they're really super ripe. Really sugary, sweet, tinned plums or something, if such a thing exists. That kind of plums in syrup. Let's go with that. Or stick with prunes, perhaps. Toffee sauce, ginger wine. Oh wow, there's a note I've written down. And yeah, I get it. Yeah, a sweet ginger. Salted caramel, so maybe that maritime thing. Dark chocolate, also salted. Licorice, strawberry laces. Nose and palate very close. Cheers, everyone. Old Pulteney's 18. Mm-hmm. Dark chocolate, plain chocolate, bitter, dark, 70% cocoa plus chocolate, salted, all that kind of plumminess, the thing there. Okay, I know it is there. It's on there in the development. This has gotten a wee bit better. And this was one of these kind of plain and smooth type linear things, but it's picked up a wee bit of spice over the couple of days. There is a saltiness there. And I know that because it's Old Pulteney, we're looking for salt, so we're going to probably find salt. But I really genuinely do believe that there's a saltiness to this whiskey. But it's a sweet salt. It's like a salted chocolate, salted caramel type thing. The licorice there, clove, right on the end, clove, licorice type notes. So we're in the kind of a fennel type, that bitterness thing as it finishes, quite a long finish. So yeah, it does say Spanish oak casks, and it plays out a wee bit like that. The ex-bourbon cask will, of course, be American. Still just a nudge on the sweet side for me, I would say. Obviously, a lot of my notes have been quite sweet. All of these whiskies are fairly sweet whiskies, maybe with the exception of that Tomatin, of course. Yeah, the only thing that holds me back from really getting excited about this one is that it's a little bit of a kind of dollop of sherry. There's quite a thick sherry forward thing. So again, a wee bit like maybe when I was talking about the Speyburn earlier or something like that. If sherry is your jam, if sherry is your thing, if you like really rich, dark, decadent, sweets, fruity, Christmas-themed whiskies, Old Pulteney 18 is probably that in a glass for you. How much did I pay for this? The Old Pulteney 18 is one of the more expensive ones, I think, but everything else is caught up. £120. I don't think I paid 120. I think I got a deal on this. I think I got it a wee bit cheaper. Going from memory, I've kind of forgotten. But if you were to buy this now, unless you picked up on a sale or something, if you're in the UK, of course, you're looking at 120. If you're in Europe, the decent markets in Europe, you're probably going to get it a wee bit cheaper. If you're in the States, you're just going to have to pay through the nose probably because they see that 18-year age statement for it and they charge you accordingly. Are you familiar with Thai basil? Yes, it's hard to get a hold of, Jimmy. I'm aware of it. It's the type of basil that you would use in Thai dishes, right? And Whiskey Wolf is saying, and everyone else, Aquaviti, would you grab the Old Pulteney 17 or the newer Old Pulteney 18 rather? I found the 17 for the same price of the 18 on secondary market. Whiskey Wolf, again, another bargain for you. Pick up the 17. The 17 was one of the most pivotal kind of whiskey epiphanies for me. The last bottle I had was actually shared at an event when the Scotch Test Dummies were over at the Bonaccord. If it's price for price, you know, the nostalgia alone would take me towards the 17. This 18 is not the same as that. I think there was more complexity. There was more of a mixed cask profile, I think, on the 17. It's just went down as one of those kind of legendary whiskies. It was around for a long time. It was there for about 15 years before it was discontinued, but that's long enough for it to become a bit of a legend, and it's still missed to this day. My Dramfee score for this one is 7 out of 10. Very good indeed. I've got one more, and this is let's keep these in order so I know what I have in front of me here. The last one, and I don't want to seem like I'm rushing through these, but I've still got the last one, and I'm going to uncork the one that I think. I've got two clean glasses left, and that'll be it. That's what's left of I thought it was a dirty mark, but it's what's left of a Glasgow Whisky Festival logo on that wee glass. So the Glasgow Whisky Festival logo will be left for the last one. But here's a bottle. When I heard about the Kilchoman prices when it was going to be released at, I went on to see what other mature peated whiskies I could buy that would end up being cheaper than Kilchoman's £206 or £204 or £200, whatever, for a 16-year-old. And I was obviously spoilt for choice. You know, there's lots and lots of stuff. But it was interesting that there wasn't a lot. I mean, when you get up at that end, it's either kind of lots of core range, widely available stuff, and then this big vacuum of not much, and then lots of really expensive stuff like the 20-somethings Ardbegs and the Ardbeg Tray Van, and you know, more expensive Lagavulins and all of this kind of stuff. But this wee one struck me. This is a smoky whiskey, but it's not smoke as you might know it. This is a Speyside, and this is something that rarely ever features on the vPub. It's from Balvenie. Now look at the ABV on this, 49.4% ABV, and right above it, it says non-chill filtered. I fully believe this to be natural colour as well. So what we've got is a very, very well presented Integrity Balvenie. Now I remember when this came out, the 17-year-old, I think this is a couple of years old at least, and I saw the price and thought, oh, that's far too expensive. But I bought this for £104. So right smack in the sweet spot of the pricing band that we're dealing with in 2023, and fully half the price of Kilchoman. If you were to consider this a replacement for Kilchoman, you would probably be a wee bit mistaken. That Kilchoman 16 that I tried at the festival last weekend was probably the softest Kilchoman that I've ever had in memory. That makes sense. Over the years, the peat phenols break down and it's less peat forward. And yet this one, that is clearly, I suffer from peat blight, as you know, but this is such an aromatic, thick, heady smoke that you can't miss it. You can't miss it. I'm missing drams here. Stephen Wilson's bought me a dram to say Aquaviti. Happy 6 years, Roy. Looking forward to another 6. Stephen, thank you so much. Ian Bruce is saying great review once again, Roy. Just hoping the questions 9 and 10 on the quiz aren't his score destructive this week. Oh, it's a quiz at the end, Ian. I'm not making any promises. Felt like a brilliant front 9 and then having some double bogeys. Glad to be in live. Ian, hang tight this week, my friend. Hang tight. It's a wee bit self-indulgent, the quiz at the end this week. A slightly different take on things. I will be obviously weaving in some questions about the whiskies that I'm talking about, of course. But yes, it's very typical. Starts off easy. It's going to get tougher. Hang in, big guy. Thank you very much for the dram. And Daisy's bought me a dram. Oh my goodness. Daisy, what are you doing? Happy 6th anniversary, Roy. These vPubs have been and still are a highlight of my week. Daisy, you're a highlight of this community. And recently, you've not only been making it to Germany, but you've been making it to Scotland. I've seen you in Scotland 2 times, 3 times, I don't know, but you're around, and it's just fabulous to see you smiling and happy and being there and being part of it all. And it's far too generous a dram, Daisy, but I'll be very gracious and say thank you to Ian Bruce as well, and to Stephen Wilson. Thank you all. Many years to come. I don't know how to say it. Just say thank you. Cheers. I could not have predicted a day that I would be sitting here on a vPub recommending a Balvenie. Balvenie, most of it is not aimed at us. And yet, that wee 12-year-old Doublewood is still a classic. It's still a fantastic bottle of whiskey. It's difficult to get it cheap these days. It's a wee bit pricey. Balvenie is certainly one of these kind of upmarket brands. The 17-year-old Doublewood, the 21-year-old, these are really terrific whiskies that are often priced or presented in a way that are maybe not for us. But I've always had a soft spot for the liquid that comes out of Balvenie and the way it's presented. I do enjoy it. I have only ever sampled or skirted around their peat and peated releases. Usually I felt they were a wee bit pricey, but look at them now. There's a 14-year-old, there's a few different age statements. They come out differently. They're special releases, they're limited. This one is really unique. It's not even like Ardmore. This is much more kind of farmy, hay barn. There's a warmth to this. I know that I talk about smelling and tasting colours, but I smell and taste temperature sometimes too. And I'm not just talking about how warm or cool the liquid is. I'm talking about what the notes that they give can suggest warmth or cooler temperatures. But there's a warmth to this. There's an indoor rustic quality. There's a farminess to it. I know that one of my tasting notes that I've written down is I think I wrote it down. Yeah, I did write it down. Warm cattle, which sounds awful, but it's put me in that environment where I'm in a kind of barn or a hayloft or something, but there's smoke in the air. So there's yeah, it's almost like a coal crisp outside, but warmth and smoke, and I'm in a warm spot. It's odd. It's very odd. But this is not Isle of Peat. This is not Highland peat. Specifically, this is cut from Speyside. The peat that they use for this, it's Speyside peat. But it's not Highland Park peat either. This is completely different. And I think it's gorgeous for it. The peat is not a shell or a blanket. It's not something that you're digging through. It's just part of it all. Lovely sweetness, a peachy sweetness, a little bit of tropical note even. Never had that before this week, but it's like a tinned peaches. The rest of my notes are Farmish quality, wet grass, hayloft, warm cattle, smoke, soft smoke, and warm. Lemon and orange rind, fresh citrus. The citrus is a wee bit sweeter tonight. Sweet, so satsuma rather than kind of fresh orange or not lemon. I'm not getting much lemon. Maybe like a lemon drop, a confectionery lemon, maybe. Smoke completely integrated, I've written, and that's exactly what it's like. I've got 2 scores written down for this, and I'm going to go for the higher of the 2 scores based on the enjoyment of this tonight. This is an 8 out of 10. That's something special under the Dramface scoring. That's what I've scored the Craigellachie. This matches it. It's what I've scored the Tomatin. For interest, it matches it. You can't easily spend triple figures on a bottle of whiskey, and I'm not recommending that anybody runs out and does that based on what I'm saying tonight. If you're asking for a gift, if you're treating yourself to something, if you're using up some vouchers, if you're going to put something really quite precious and special on the shelf, that's kind of what I'm angling at. That's the lens I'm viewing these whiskies through. These are not going to be, are very unlikely to be perma-shelf items. That said, the last whiskey I'm going to share with you, if I open this and uncork this tonight, and it is every bit as good as I remember the previous 2 bottles of this that I've had, this could potentially beat everything. I drained the last drop of this a few weeks ago, this much left in the bottom, and I immediately said, I need to get more of this. And I went on and realised that the 85 to 90 pounds that I was previously complaining about was now up at 115. I just stepped away immediately. I'm not spending that. But again, I went on and found it a wee bit cheaper just recently. I paid 103 for this. Check the prices where you are first. I think you might know the bottle I'm going to hold up to you. Again, it's not a distillery that appears often on the vPub, but this is one that I have shared with you, and I raved about it in the past, and I think it is terrific. I hope this one is terrific tonight as well. Remember this? Something from Pernod Ricard, Shock Horror. This is 48% ABV Longmorn. This is part of their secret Speyside collection. It's 18 years old, and we believe it to be fully natural. This is one of the best deals in the secret Speyside collection, along with there's a good Capardonic that you can pick up, an 18-year-old peated Capardonic, and there are some others as well, but quite a bit more expensive. Lewis is suggesting it was going to be due at 18. No mention of Glencairn 18. No mention of Glencairn 18. £132 that came out at. Bit of a weird release. Whiskey Wolf is saying thank you for the great time and answering all my questions. Really appreciate it. Unfortunately, I have to go because I would need to wake up early, and I'll catch the rest tomorrow. Sláinte. Whiskey Wolf, sláinte to you as well. I know that if you're in Germany, you're already knocking on the door of midnight. Sleep well, my friend. Thanks for stopping by while you could. Cheers. Right, here we go. Now, I don't know how many batches there are of this, how many they made. Tells us it's non-chill filtered, which is fantastic. American oak barrels and hogsheads. This, when I talk about an 80-year-old whiskey having detail and texture and complexity to it, the last pour or two I had out of that last bottle made me realise how much I would miss this. I've truly loved every moment with this. All we need from this wee neck pour, bear in mind it's a neck pour, is for this to be the same or similar as the previous ones. Quieter nose, the quietest nose I've had tonight. Makes sense. I've just uncorked it. It was delivered on Tuesday, so it's been sitting here, no bottle shock. It's been here for 2 or 3 days. Oh, it's opening up a wee bit. There's some nuttiness here. It's not so sherry forward. It's just much more restrained. Just a wee bit of sherry in this. Just a wee hint. This is all about balance. Just be as good as I remember. There's a wee bit of a floral side to this, like a freshness to it, like a spritz. Sweet, like honeysuckle or sweet flowers. It's orangey. Dried, candied orange peel. Wee bit of zest, pith. Wood spices. Cigar box again. So is it cigars or wood or both, or cedar, sawmill? Okay, here goes. Ginger. Quiet spice. Just that texture, that... Yes. This. So I complained about it being £85. I complained about it being £90. And now I'm paying 103, and that's on sale, 103. And I'm going to complain about the price again. But look at everything else that we're sipping alongside of it. There are exceptions out there, but Arran are now more expensive than this. They're more expensive. It's just that the way it is, they've caught up. All the other whiskies that used to make this Longmorn seem like a pricey prospect are now standing up alongside it, making it look like a good deal. And I'm sorry, if you're going to play that game, you need to bring this good quality malt whiskey. And that's going to be hard from the stocks, or the lack of stocks, that a lot of those distilleries have. It's going to be difficult for them to play in that higher price bracket. There's too many people out there that know their way around a glass of whiskey. There's too many people out there drinking whiskey regularly. It's part of a community, club, friends, festivals, tasting events, whatever it is. There's too many people know the value of what you're offering. Please don't get too greedy just because you think you can. Just because you think that an 18-year-old is suddenly £120, that's the price. Don't think that you can charge that. Earn your pedigree, earn your stripes. Because if you push it too hard, you're going to find yourself in the big boys' playground, and that's going to be really, really tough. Look at Kilchoman, Glenmurray, Speyburn. Look at our lead chicks and our Deanstons. They, for now, and it won't last forever, are pricing their products for us, the enthusiast. And that's going to mean that all these other ones I've shared with you tonight, even Tomatin, even Balvenie, even Craigellachie, they're going to struggle for us, the enthusiasts, while those products are out there at that price point, because they're fantastic at that price point. If you are going to push up into the £110, £120 and beyond, let's face it, price point and price bracket, you have to bring something that can go toe-to-toe with whiskies of this quality. And that is not an easy thing to do. Just because you can sell something, and it will sell out, Kilchoman's 16-year-old will sell out at £200, but they've changed course. Their trajectory as a distillery has changed. They are now focused, it seems to me, to this amateur commentator sitting in his spare room surrounded by whiskey. It seems to this commentator like they've chosen to make money now instead of investing in their own future. Continuing the grind. I think there's too much of that happening. I think there's far too much opportunism. I think there's too much of this idea that people seem to think, oh, well, we're just leaving money on the table. No, you're not leaving money on the table. You're leaving it to invest in whiskey's future. Don't take that money today. You might need it tomorrow. That Longmorn, I think, might be worthy of a 9 out of 10. Gino Camo's bought me a dram. Happy 6 years, Roy. Looking forward to many more, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and passion with us, Slancher Buddy. Let's go more with the passion and a bit less with the knowledge. Thank you, Gino. Thank you so much. Thank you, my friend. It's a very generous dram, Gino, and it's always a pleasure to have you here and hang out with you. How is your pal Graham doing? I hope you're all well. You made me buy the Longmorn 16 with the silver label, and it was great. Excess to Scotch saying, well, I didn't make you, hopefully, and I just encouraged you, but it's good to hear that you're enjoying it. That really means a lot. The form of a whiskey is easily the second most important thing to me after the nose. Okay, that's so much, Jimmy. He just I've witnessed it. He just sits there nosing and nosing and nosing. Alistair Gray saying Aquavite Speyside wins tonight. Well, I guess it does. The Tomatin, I have to say, is great. The Balvenie, I have to say, is great. Craigellachie, great. And Longmorn 18. I think if this bottle opens up the way the last one did as well, I'm so glad to have this back on the shelf. What used to be an expensive whiskey is now actually in the lower half of the price band spread. Let's bring that up so I can show you. Longmorn, where are we? Did I put it in here? There we are. Longmorn, £103. It's in the lower half. Ahead of it, we've got Craigellachie, Balvenie, Balblair, Arran's New 17, Old Pulteney 18. Springbank, I mean, that's in here, but honestly, we can't get it. And Springbank used to be down at this end, but obviously it's down at the left-hand side. You can't see my pointer, apologies. Bunnahabhain, Glen Scotia, Glenallachie. Glenallachie is really quite pricey, I find, for the 18-year-old, 132, one of the most expensive. Then the really expensive stuff of Tamdhu, Fettercairn and Kilchoman. So there we have it. Longmorn used to be one of the most expensive ones, but now it's actually relatively a bit of a bargain. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful. I hope you've somehow worked out if you're going to, if you had your eye on any of these whiskies, that's maybe helped you work out what you might go for. I would suggest you can't go wrong with the Craigellachie. You're in for a bit of a, if you like interesting whiskies or things that are going to engage with you, the Tomatins want to go for something completely off-piste. That Balvenie is a really well-crafted, lovely rounded, aromatic, heady, smoky whiskey where the smoke is just part of the discussion rather than the whole thing. But the Longmorn has suddenly become something that's much easier to recommend because, relatively speaking, it's become a bit of a value buy. And in the past, it was not that. Falscraft is saying there's always an odd one out in a big portfolio. Longmorn would be an odd one out in any portfolio. And there it sticks out like a healthy organ in an old man. What a way to look at it. Yeah. And they seem to have not, despite the stupidity of the 40% distiller's choice or whatever they call it, distillery reserve or distiller's choice, I think it was. They managed to not kill it off. You made me buy the Longmorn. Sorry, I picked that up. Excess to Scotch. And the dark side is saying not much left of that Arran 18-year-old. And it needs killed off, doesn't it? It definitely does. Falscraft saying there's always, oh, I did get it. So did you repeat that? Or is this chat jumping? I picked up Gino's. Ian Bruce is saying, Roy, out of tonight's selection, which one would you save if you could only rescue one? I hope that's been clear, despite it being a neck pour, despite it being just fresh out the uncorked bottle. Balance, detail. It's not bourbon or sherry. There's sherry. You can draw some sherry notes from that, but there's also some nice sweet. It's just balanced. It's just, and I use that word I'm not someone who seeks balance. I like interesting, but that's just a very, very well crafted whiskey. There you go, Ian. It's the Longmorn. Jimmy Legacy, and there'll always be whiskies for us. I don't care what the name of a distillery is. If a distillery wants to be removed from our list, so be it. That's the way we all need to be, Jimmy. Don't be brand loyal. We need to be whiskey promiscuous. If we're brand loyal, it's very easy for us to be separated from our money. Ben Whiskey with Molly is in saying, everyone buying the Loch Lomond Distillery Edition 4 in the morning? Absolutely, 45 quid. I am all over it. I don't even remember what it's about, but I have all 3 distillery editions from Loch Lomond. They're all buy on site. I'll be on the website tomorrow morning to pick up my bottle, Ben. I hope you will too. Black Fennis saying, which do you prefer, Tomatin 18 or Kilchoman 15? Both are great, but for me, the Kilchoman edges it and it's cheaper. You know, there's truth in that. The 15-year-old is obviously an expensive, it's up at the top end of the 15-year-old price band, but comparing it to Tomatin 18, suddenly that's a good question because we're looking at those 2 price bands. What would I buy? Okay, just based on my mood at the moment, and that's fully based on mood, the 18. Good to have you in, Conrad. Good to have you in. I've got plenty sherry forward whiskies on the shelf, right? I want more interest. I want more bourbon forward whiskies. I want more brightness and freshness, and I want more variety. I'm covered for sherry. I bought 2 bottles of Kilchoman's 2023 release 15-year-old, but I shared both of them at the Blind Challenge a couple of weeks ago. Where's Roy saying Longmorn 18 available for 95 quid in Norway, the most taxed country in the world? Weird, not going to last, buying a bottle tomorrow. Roy, tell you what, between you and me, my friend, one Roy to another Roy, if you buy that and you don't love it, I don't even care if it's over the shoulder. I'll give you 95 quid to take the rest of the bottle from you. Can't say fairer than that, right? I'm confident you're going to love it. Dryer Fish looks like a new name. Aquaviti, which would you choose, the old Longmorn 16 or the Longmorn 18? Nostalgia answers that for me. If you're talking about the olive green and silver and brown box, the one that was really dangerous to open, the hinged one, the old 16, I've still got a wee drop left, but I'm savouring it. So there you go, Dryer Fish. But that's nostalgia. I think that this Longmorn 18 has the ability to become the legend that 16 eventually did. I hope that helps. Falsgraph is saying, do you know, there seems to be quite the lag. Double posted it was. Fantastic, Falsgraph. Double post it away if I'm not picking up your comments. It's brilliant. Thanks to everybody that's participated. Thanks to everybody that's bought me drams tonight. Thanks to everybody that's commented and chatted amongst yourself. It's amazing. Tonight, now what I'm going to do is go into, as we hit over 150. I'm going to share with you a couple of stats about the vPub over 6 years, and then we're going to roll into a quiz at the end that where every other question is a wee bit self-indulgent, and I hope you don't mind that too much. Just to kind of look back on the vPub over the 6 years and also weave in the topic that we've been sharing tonight a little bit too. I didn't fully know what the vPub was going to become, and I never know what it's going to be on any given night. I always just have a theme or a topic or whatever, or a guest or something. What I want the vPub to be and what I've realized it means to me and what I hope it means all to you. And I think for Whiskey with Molly, as he's celebrating being a member for 26 months, said congrats on 6 years of community. That sums everything up, Ben, because that's when I saw the Scotch Test Dummies doing their live streams, it lit something inside of me that I realized that's what I loved about Whiskey Tube. The idea that there was a community, but it just felt a wee bit disparate and floating and not tied together. When they started to do live streams and that bi-directional thing kicked in, I realized that was something very cool. That was something where you could use the technology to create a space. That's what motivated me to do live streams, because I wanted to be part of that and I wanted it to be on our time zone. The fact that there's been a community that's built around it, that's just a wonderful community of the best kind of people that are welcoming and kind and generous. I'll never tire of saying thank you, and I'll never tire of valuing and being grateful for all of the qualities and amazingness that you bring to it. It's fabulous. Not everybody needs to participate in that community. Some of you are quite happy just watching and tuning in. I'm grateful to all of you. It's okay. It's not one size fits all. But know that the voice of this thing is more than just my voice. The opinions are either echoed, ratified, endorsed, or that they're challenged. New opinions are given back to me from you. It is every bit a bi-directional thing. I love it. I absolutely love it. I can't believe that it could. I never dreamt it could be as cool a thing as it is today for me. We talk about feeling like I've designed something that's perfect for me, and some other people are happy with it. But I also feel like that there's a lot of mental health and positivity where otherwise there might be negativity, and helpfulness where there might be selfishness, and all of these things has become part of the community around this vPub. You did this, and I'm very, very, very grateful. So on this day of Thanksgiving, I'm going to give thanks to each and every one of you, whether you're quietly sitting watching this in a corner with a glass in hand, or whether you're part of the weekly chat and colour that happens every Thursday night. However way, click a like, leave a comment, step into Patreon if you want to, all of these things. However you're doing it, just keep doing it, because I have loved it. I'll give thanks to all of you. Cheers. Taylor Hatchley is busy gifting Aquavitae Barfly memberships as well. I hope that everybody that picks it up enjoys using the emoji and things like that to colour those comments and chats. 6 gifted subs for 6 years. Enjoy, guys. Fantastic, Taylor. Thank you so much. And Thomas F is saying, this community is an incredible thing to have built over 6 years. We may have contributed, but you were the seed from the start. Thank you so much, Thomas. That means so much. Kind words. Greg's Whisky Guide, thank you so much. To be honest, it's a struggle and very brave of you to find a relevant topic every single week since 6 years. I'll never be able to do that, so kudos to have done it so far. Yes. Aye. Whatever inspires me to continue to bring the topics, I hope that it just keeps happening. Greg, you're absolutely right. It can be a challenge from time to time, but we're covered for the weeks ahead. Next week, I've got what we taste in whiskey when we talk about tasting shapes and colours, and like tonight when I talked about tasting temperatures and things like that. But instead of me doing it on my own, we've got Mark Watt coming in, who suffers from, he doesn't suffer, who has something of a synesthesia where he identifies flavour in whiskey often as colour. Fantastic guy. What a pedigree in whiskey. The fact he's willing to step on a vPub and cover any topic that we want to talk about is wonderful, but I couldn't resist talking about that with Mark. He's up next week. And then the week after that, we have another guest slot. So thank you for enjoying the recent solo sessions. We're going to roll into a few guest sessions as well. Next week with Mark Watt, I'm going to find a way to weave in a wee bit of community aspect to it too. I'm working on that in the background. The week after that, we've got Conal McKenzie from Adelphi and Arran working, of course. And then we're well into December, and we can start to enjoy the kind of more seasonal topics of the vPub. Lovely Dram's coming in as well. Whiskey with Molly saying, never been more nervous than sitting with whiskey heroes in the vPub at your blind tasting. Never have I felt more included. Keep up the great work. The community is amazing. I hope I add my small bit. Ben, you very much do, my friend. It's wonderful to have you here. It's really wonderful to have you here. Ben was there when I was setting up at the blind tasting a few weeks ago. I asked for the team captains to be there a bit early. He was there, ready and willing to help through the whole thing. The reassurance that brings, I can't articulate easily. Thank you, buddy. Danny Keenan's bought me a dram to say congratulations on the 6 years, Roy. Have a dram on me. Cheers. Thank you, Danny Keenan. Scotch for Dummies. Boys, bought us a dram. Congrats on 6 years of the vPub, mate. I'm going to guess, I always have a wee guess when it's the Scotch for Dummies that are in. I feel like that's Drew. Let's say it's Drew tonight. I think it's probably Drew. Mate, that would be Drew that would say mate. Cheers to the Scotch for Dummies, those boys over in Indiana. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're still continuing your journey. Benny Fries is saying, I wonder if you're truly aware of what you've created and what it brings to us out here around the world. If you're grateful, you're definitely not alone. Congrats on the 6 years, and thanks. See you, Roy. Benny, stop with the kind words. We're going to keep it dry-eyed tonight, my friend. So here's to the Scotch Test Dummies. Here's to Benny Fries. I'll see you on Tuesday, buddy. Here's to my friend Danny Keenan and my friend Ben, Whiskey with Molly. Cheers to you all. Okay, let's share this thing. Just to let you see, to let you see what you've endured, what you've done, what you've put up with over the last few years, okay? Let's bring this in. What you've endured over the last 6 years. How many episodes of the vPub do you think has been in the last 6 years? Well, I can tell you tonight that I have put together 242 vPub live sessions. Now, that does include 1 or 2 sessions that didn't happen on a Thursday night, but it doesn't include them all. It certainly doesn't include the Online Scotch Whisky Awards, and it doesn't include certain kind of oddball freebie type guest sessions. If it's been titled vPub, 242 episodes. And that translates into how many hours broadcast? How many hours have you endured over the years? Well, you can probably do the math because you know I target 2 hours, but it never happens. So don't really anymore. Probably 2.5 hours is the average, and this pans out. I counted the hours, and I can tell you that there are 562 hours broadcast over 6 years now. I have not sat down and worked out how many days, weeks, or potentially months that is, and I don't want to either. Well, let's leave it at 562 hours. I'll let you know how that's spread over the course of the years. You might be able to see my pointer now. 2017 obviously started in Thanksgiving 2017, so there was only 5 episodes, 8 hours of broadcasting that year, but it meant that I'd proven the concept, and I wanted to run with it for 2018 and 2019. But back here in 2018 and 2019, you can see it was steady over the 2 years. That was because the vPub was every other week. There was only 2 a month, maybe occasionally 3 in a 5-week month, but it was every other week. So you can see in 2018, 28 episodes, and in 2019, 27 episodes. 2020, the year started the exact same way as 2018 and 2019. But of course, by the time we got to the second half of March, everything changed in 2020. From halfway through March, I started to do extra content. So I did Sunday night lock-ins, or Sunday night extended opening, they were called, and Thursday night weekly vPubs. So I went from 2 a month to 2 a week to get me through the lockdown, to get me through COVID. Little did I know that it would help a lot of you through that period as well. And that continued at 2 a week right up until the summer break that year. And even after the summer break, it settled down, not back to the original schedule, but weekly vPubs. And it's been weekly ever since. In 2021, you can see that weekly pace continued. 44 episodes, 42 episodes in 2022. And it looks like if I continue to the plan, the schedule that's currently teed up till the end of December, there'll be 41 vPubs in 2023. So there you go. I have to say that out of all the content creators that are out there, I know that everybody brings a different thing. Everybody brings a different value proposition. Everybody brings a different style, a different take on whiskey. Everyone does. I have found this to be what I enjoy. I will still bring you recycled reviews, and I will still potentially reserve the right to create and make other things that are different and depart in the future. But after 6 years, that feels like just a couple of years, I am still fully energized. I'm 6 years older, 6 years wiser, 6 years more whiskey experience under my belt. But more than anything, I am 6 years down the road of knowing I want to be a part of this community that we're celebrating tonight. I don't want to let that go. It energizes me. It makes me love whiskey even more, and I'll be here. I will be here. Thank you for enduring all of those episodes and hours. David Hong is saying, has bought me $10. No comment. Thank you, David Hong. Thank you so much for your dram. Where's Roy? Has bought me a dram as well. So superb, Roy. He's saying happy anniversary. Thank you, my friend. And Peter Lee is saying 6 years of sheer joy and happiness. My own whiskey journey has changed vastly for the better. Denise and I want to thank you for welcoming us with open arms. Here's a dram for you and more. It's coming from Peter Lee, one of the most welcoming people in our community. The positivity is incredible. Cheers. Now I change the tone completely as we roll into the quiz at the end. Of course, the quiz at the end the vPubs tend not to have a theme, but there is a wee bit of a theme tonight, and it's a wee bit of a self-indulgent one. We will go through certain aspects of the vPub over the last 6 years, but we'll also weave in some questions about the whiskies and things that we've covered tonight. I will do my best to keep this chat up and alive and running tonight in order to keep the interaction going as we creep on in to the witching hour and beyond. Listen, if you are tuning in for the first time tonight, I'm very grateful. I hope this hasn't been all too self-indulgent, and it probably has. The quiz at the end is for fun. It's always multiple choice. Everybody has a good opportunity at the quiz at the end. It starts off easy. It's going to get more difficult as time goes on. And of course, we finish on a deliberately awful question at the end, the ass hat. If somebody's going to get a 10 out of 10 in the vPub, it has to be very, very well earned. And for that to be the case, you need to be on form. You need to be a wee bit knowledgeable, I suppose, a wee bit lucky, and you certainly need to lean on the community a wee bit too. Good luck to everyone. Good luck. Peter is saying, I get the horrible feeling that it'll be a horrible quiz. Aren't all the quizzes horrible, Frank? Are they not all horrible? Good luck, everybody. Here we have the 23rd of November, Thanksgiving, 2023, 6-year vPub anniversary. vPub quiz at the end. Good luck. Rob Halford is in. It's fantastic that even online, the same ideas keep going. The whiskey is the catalyst to find good people, good friends. Slancha, here's to another 6 years beyond. Thank you. Well, there's somebody I do need to raise a glass and say thank you to. Rob Halford. Thank you, my friend. Cheers. Jimmy Legacy and Lynn probably deserves more thanks than you. She believed you weren't alone for it, even trying this. I think she just wanted me out her hair, Jimmy, but I'll accept that. You're probably spot on. She is. Willie Buchanan's in. Good to see you, Willie. Well, Roy, still need my Thursday fix. Well done. Willie, I hope it's brilliant to have met you recently as well. Colin as well, Morag, fantastic to have you as part of the community. Terrific to have you in here and saying hello at the end of the night, Willie Buchanan. Question 1. Good luck, everyone. Which of these whiskey personalities have appeared on past vPubs? Which of these personalities have appeared on past vPubs? A. Charlie McLean, B. Billy Walker, or C. Jim McEwen? Which of those fellas have been behind the bar at the vPub in the past? You know the drill. You know the drill. Colin, Dogs Have No Uncles, is shouting all of them, along with almost everybody else. Mike Molasses. Falsgraf, I was there. Absolutely. Mikey Hayes saying A and the rest. Absolutely. All of those have appeared. Nobody gets a donut. Nobody gets a 0. Nobody gets nothing on the quiz at the end. You all got a freebie to start with. Of course, you knew the answers to that one anyway. But it's going to get harder. Question 2. Which of these distillery ranges does not currently have an 18-year-old in the lineup? Core ranges we're talking about. Which of these distilleries don't have an 18-year-old? A. Ben Romack, B. Glencadam, or C. Glengoyne? So fabulous to see all the super chats and drams that's been bought for me tonight. So it's been almost difficult to keep up. Really, really fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for being the in real life chaperone for all the barflies. You're 1 in a million, Peter Lee. Amen to that, Rob Halford. Molasses, I rewatched the Billy Walker one recently and still wanted to engage in the chat. I know that's the difficulty, isn't it? Why a banana skin, I wonder, says Greg's Whiskey Guide. Well, most of you have got this absolutely spot on. It's easy. But of course, in the past, we've heard there's banana skin there because in the past we've heard that Glengoyne are going to ditch their 18-year-old. It's still available on their website. It's still available generally. And also Glencadam did ditch their 18-year-old because of obviously being closed 18 years ago, but recently brought it back. That's why there was a wee banana skin there, just in case you were you'd forgotten that Glencadam had not come back on stream. Benromac, they have a 10-year-old, they have a 15-year-old, and they have a 21-year-old. Question 3, there's a huge hardwood vPub compass hanging in the backdrop. Where did it come from? Where did that big, massive, solid lump of wood, where did it come from? Did it come from A, the USA, B, Germany, or C, England? The vPub compass logo in the background, the compass obviously is there to represent the fact that the internet doesn't see any borders, the vPub doesn't see any borders. And it's my wish, it's my mission to try and reach literally every corner of this planet as possible, to talk anywhere where there is people interested in whiskey. I want to reach them. That's why a compass is the vPub logo. But someone took it upon themselves to make that, and I duly hung it up in the background. Damn not sure at all, so we'll have to say thanks to the crowd for that, says Greg's Whiskey Guide. Well, the crowd are absolutely spot on. And in fact, the fella that sent me it was in earlier tonight. It was from Mark Goins. Mark Goins is a pastor in the United States of America. And he not only got that commissioned and made, but he shipped it here. I can't imagine what was involved in doing that. Thank you, Mark. I think it's fantastic. I love it. A dram's come in from Neil Almond to say, cheers, Roy. Cheers for the content. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic that you're even here. Neil, buying me a dram. Cheers to you. Looks like the first time I've welcomed you in as well, Neil. I hope it's not the last. Question 4. Tonight we covered Craigellachie's 17-year-old. What's their next odd age statement release by the distillery? What's the next odd age statement release? So Craigellachie tend to do odd releases. Their opener is a 13-year-old, of course. They've got an interesting Bass Armagnac version of that 13-year-old. Then it steps up to the 17-year-old. But where does it go next? Where does it go after that? A 19-year-old release. B, a 21-year-old release. Or C, a 23-year-old release. Craigellachie's core range. We've got the first one that's, there is a banana skin here because it is splitting the crowd a little bit. It is causing some difficulty. Whiskey from the Vestibule. That's the first time I've welcomed you in. Whiskey from the Vestibule. You're a barfly. Good to have you. Rory Dolgetty is in tonight. Rory, if there's folk in the community, I really need to make an effort to meet. Rory, you're one of them. Thank you for joining us tonight for the quiz at the end. What's the next one? And what's Rory answering to that one? Rory thinks it's 19 years old. What previously used to be a travel retail exclusive in the 19-year-old is now available generally on the market. They're promoting on their website right now. Craigellachie have a 19-year-old. The reason the banana skin was in there is because I know for a long time it was the 23-year-old, but the 19-year-old has become much more of a staple from Craigellachie. It's a wee bit pricey at £200 a bottle. But as we've been seeing for the rest of throughout tonight, it's just the way things are going. And a wee dram's come in from Codger. Codger is a Saroyan. Codger. Well, let's go with Codger. I know how to pronounce that. Codger, my friend, thank you for the dram. Cheers to you. So if we roll into the picture question, if you've answered A for 19, you're still intact. Good stuff. And here is a picture of a distillery, believe it or not. But it's a vPub question, and I can tell you that I have broadcast live from this distillery. Where is it? Is it A, Garrison Brothers in Texas, B, Crowded Barrel Distillery in Texas, or C, Iron Root Republic Distillery in Texas? Which of those three? What is the photo we're looking at? I'm on my very creaky stool tonight. Apologies if that's been distracting anyone. Saroyan. Used to sell boats in that building, says Martin Fielder, so he's comfortable. Would suggest if you're going to follow anyone, you would follow Martin, but there's no need. Jimmy Leggs saying it's not Springbank, absolutely spot on. We are clearly in Texas, and this is indeed, as you've got it all right. This is Iron Root Republic in Texas. That was, when was that? Was that October last year? August last year? September? Something around that. About a year and a bit ago. Fantastic time was had too. Wonderful stuff. I remember spending the rest of the night going into the wee hours of the morning with some amazing whiskies brought along by Chris of Liquor Hound fame. The whiskies that he brought were just a different level. Incredible stuff. Question 6, everyone. Which of tonight's distilleries has a connection to Lagavulin, White Horse, and the restless Peter Mackay? Which of tonight's distilleries has a connection to Lagavulin, White Horse distillers and the restless Peter Mackay? A, Longmorn and Speyside, B, Tomatin in the Highlands, or C, Craigellachie and Speyside? Greg's Whiskey Guide is saying Chris is a star. Yeah, he's an absolute gentleman and just the most impassioned whiskey geek as well. Incredible. All spirits. He's into everything. He brought amazing rum for us to try, talked to us at length about Mexican spirits, mezcals and tequilas. Dancing Midgie Photography is here. Was I mindful enough to put up your picture? Should I go and grab it if I didn't? Where did I put it? You sent me an early Christmas card, Glenn, and what a picture it was. Absolutely incredibly layered photography from the mountains in the background, through the hills in the backdrop, the forest, the building, the lake, the rocks in the front. Stunning photograph, my friend. Thank you for that wonderful card. I can tell you that you're bang on again. The restless Peter Mackay, part of White Horse Distillers, of course, which would have been associated then with Lagavulin. It was, of course, Craigellachie C. So everybody's doing quite well so far. Everybody's doing well so far. Jimmy Legacy, he pretends he can taste vodka. I believe that Liquor Hound Chris can taste vodka. Absolutely. Which of these whiskey personalities has appeared live on the vPub most? Which of these personalities have you seen the most behind the bar at the vPub? Or tuning in live remotely, let's be honest, which still counts as behind the bar. A, Ralphie. B, Roddy. C, Ingvar. Which of those three have you seen the most? Rob Smith is pointing out the banana skin. Jimmy Legg is saying, me. How many times have you been on, Jimmy? You've been on a couple or 3 times, haven't you? Better be Roddy, says Jimmy Legg. Dogs have no uncles. I'll gamble and say C. Colin's going risky. Greg's Whiskey Guide is saying logically Ingvar, but I'll say B. This, I was quite amazed. I lost count, actually, how many times he'd been on. I actually lost count. There's a lot of times that he's been on just as part of a lineup. There's a lot of times he's been the central focus. So, of course, I'm talking about the evergreen Roddy. I don't think Roddy's in tonight, but he is. He's been on more. Ingvar's been on 4 times, I think. Ralphie's been on about 6 or 7 times, and various guises as a guest a wee bit less than that. But Roddy's been on even longer, more times than that. He's been on pretending to host for distilleries. He's come on with his own topics. He's come on as a guest for my topics. He's participated in blind challenges. He's always up for just about anything. That's our star, Roddy. Falsgraf, 7 out of 7. Usual minimum achieved. Danny Heavington has slipped up on a 6. Boomer is on a 6 as well. Tie-dye for the win, says Jimmy Legg. And Rory is saying, I've only seen 10 out of 12 episodes that he's been on 4 of them. Terrific. Question 8. Which of tonight's distilleries is actually named after a person? So of all the distilleries I've shared with you tonight, specifically focused on tonight, which of them is named after a person? A. Pulteney in the Highlands, B. Craigellachie in Speyside, or C. Balvenie in Speyside? Whiskey with Molly Ben is saying, surely a question on who hosted the vPub without Roy is due to internet issues. Oh, that would have been a good one. Who hosted the vPub without me? Who was guesting and had to end up hosting the vPub because of internet issues? Yeah, of course. That was the amazing Graham Cool and Faye Cool, interestingly enough. Just different level stuff. The night that my internet just crapped out. Mickey is saying not C, maybe B, but I'll say A. I wonder if you're all guessing or if the knowledgeable whiskey folk thing kicks in. I can tell you that so many of you are absolutely on the money here. Sir William Pulteney was one of the richest men in the UK back in the day, and actually famously became a sponsor of Telford. So the man who's responsible for so much infrastructure and civil engineering projects up and down the UK, Thomas Telford, was sponsored by Sir William Pulteney of Old Pulteney fame. So yes, Old Pulteney Distillery is actually named after Sir William Pulteney. He was actually born Willie Johnston in Dumfries, but he married into aristocracy and inherited an absolute fortune and became Sir William Pulteney. So there you go. Question 9. Oh, Chris Pollack has slipped, saying there goes my 10 out of 10. But Graham Fraser, Gino Cumeau, Mike Molasses, Taylor Atchley, and Ian Bruce, Pulteney Town, absolutely. They're all on. Jimmy Legg is also on an 8 out of 8 as well. So there's a good chance for a 10 out of 10 tonight. Come on, let's keep it strong as we go on to some of the most self-indulgent questions to finish out tonight's vPub. Question 9. What were the first 2 malt whiskies to ever appear on the vPub in 2017? Brutality, asshattery, awfulness coming in, and it's not even the last question. Although I will say the asshat at the end is a softer asshat than usual. What were the first 2 malt whiskies to ever appear on the vPub in 2017? I know so many of you are going to be guessing. A, it was Glendronach 15, Old and New. It was B, Lagavulin 16 and Glengoyne 10. Or C, it was Deanston Virgin Oak and Tomatin Legacy. What an awful question to put in. I should be making it all easy so that loads of us can get 10 out of 10 on this anniversary episode, 6-year anniversary. However, we're not going to do that because it's the quiz at the end. And if you get a 10 out of 10, it has to be deserved. It has to be something special. Oliver and Whiskey Veritas is saying D, Jesus and Christ. Doubt it's C, but I've been drinking Virgin Oak tonight, so that's my guess, says Duder Court. Well done, you. I hope you're enjoying it. Always a good one. C.A. Scotty, hello all. Just joined in late. Happy Thanksgiving to all of the United States Barflies. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Good to have you in, Scotty. Fantastic. A DeLorean is needed right now, Fernando. Well, that's the beauty of YouTube, Fernando. You can go back to that date on the 23rd of November back in 2017, and you would discover that it was Deanston, Virgin Oak, and Tomatin Legacy. I had just released a video on the ABCDs of whiskey that day, and they were the two non-age statement examples that I'd used. Peter Lee saying, why weren't you always talking about Springbank? Just would that make it better or worse? I'm not sure. No way. Flux capacitor, says Rob Smith. Oh, I think it's taken the wind out of quite a few people. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. Is there anybody still hanging in with a 9 out of 9? I can't believe it. Deanston has done me proud, says Duder Court. Well, you were drinking the Virgin Oaks, Duder, so well done you. And out goes the carpet under everyone's leg, says Sugar Kitty. I have to say, you're spot on. There's no 9 out of 9s left. Are there any 9 out of 9s? That tricked a few. It wasn't meant to be a trick, but there was a banana skin in there because I knew it was close to being an asshat. Okay, we're rolling into the asshat question at the end. It's deliberately meant to be awful. No 10 out of 10 for me tonight, says Fernando. Maybe next time. Let's see if you can make a 9 out of 10. The asshat at the end. When did the Aquavitae live streams first become known as vPubs? When did they go from being known just Aquavitae Live to the vPub? Was it around the same time? This is awful. I thought it was soft. It's awful. Was it around the same time as A, Glendronach was purchased by Brown-Forman? Or was it around the same time as B, Glendronach was had re-released their 15-year-old? Or was it around the same time as C, Glendronach employed Rachel Barry from Bamoa? Very Glendronach themed. When did it switch from being the Aquavitae Live to being called the vPub? Around the same time as when Glendronach was purchased by Brown-Forman, around the same time as when Glendronach finally re-released their 15-year-old revival, or C, when Glendronach employed Rachel Barry from Bamoa? Utter asshattery. Roy, you asshat. I know. September 13th, 2018. Does that even help? Wow. So Jimmy's been able to go back and work that out. Well done, Jimmy Legg. Duder Court, I really enjoy Virgin Oak. See, that's the thing about the asshat. Even if you know one of the things, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be able to answer the other one, right? It's always, yes, asshattery. Okay. I can tell you that it was around the same time, and I compared the two, that Glendronach re-released their 15-year-old. So I did a vPub that was comparing the Billy Walker 15-year-old revival with Rachel Barry's 15-year-old revival, and all the kind of geekery that's involved in doing such a thing, to no end other than just indulging ourselves in our love of whiskey and how it inevitably plays with us and changes. But I understand a lot of you would have had to guess the last two. Awful. I've probably lost some subscribers, some likes, some patrons even. Rory Dalgetty is saying, what a guess. So he's come in and guessed quite well. So what are the scores on the doors at the end? Let's see how we're doing. Let's take this away and I can see some of your scores. I wonder if I could do something different tonight, just for tonight. Let's see. It's just, I can't even read that. The comments in StreamYard is just so difficult. I'll just read it out from here. Craig Willis, 9 out of 10, fantastic. Bob Weiser on a 9 out of 10. Pete Head, happy with that on a 9 out of 10, fantastic. 8 out of 10 is great, says Steve Atkins. Good to have you in, Steve. Tony Nelson on a 7 out of 10. Tony, you were here in the very first ever live stream, right? I think you joined. Was that right? Could that be true? You've been here for 6 years, Tony Nelson. Thank you for being in here tonight on Thanksgiving and participating, my friend. Cheers. Codger, 9 out of 10, my best ever. Fantastic. Good to have you. Philip Wagner, good to have you in, Philip. 9 out of 10. Question 9 was the ass hat tonight. I know it was a bit awkward. Greg's Whiskey Guy, 9 out of 10. I can have regrets. Martin Fielder's bought me a dram to say thank you for, thankful for you, Roy, on this Thanksgiving Day. Slant you. Martin Fielder, I'm thankful to you as well, my friend. And it's a pleasure to have people in here from your part of the world that I've actually been able to raise a glass with and shake their hands and meet. Cheers, Martin. I thought Glendronach's 15 stopped in 2015 and you started in 2017. That's right. But when it went to the vPubs, from Aquavita Live to the vPub, it was 2018. So they started to be called the 2018. 2018, after the summer break, I started to call it the vPub. And one of the early vPubs was comparing those two. So that's 2018, as Jimmy Legg had already mentioned, Ben. Fun vPub this evening. Thanks again for the wonderful community and congrats on the 6th anniversary, says Hellswood. Thank you so much. And Too Slow is saying, thanks, Roy, and all the barflies. Rob, it's always brilliant to have you in, Too Slow. It's terrific to have you here, buddy. I'm looking to see. Kev M is claiming an 11 out of 10, and you absolutely deserve it, my friend. If anybody wants to claim a vPub score, they absolutely can. I don't think there's anything that beats the thrill from a genuinely hard-fought, leaning on the community, leaning on knowledge, leaning on luck. 10 out of 10, though. Gerald Gascan, Gerald has got an 8 out of 10. Gino Camo's on a 9. Peter Box on an 8. And Martin Fielder managed a 7. Jimmy Legg managed his 9. Terrific. Dancing Midgie got an 8 out of 10. Terrific, Glenn. Well done to you. How's your boy? I hope he's doing well. Mike Molasses on a 9. Nicholas on an 8. Blackfen 8. Hellswood on an 8. Terrific scoring. Just the 2 at the end, I think, has tripped everyone up tonight. Still feel good, says Aris Mouse. Good to see you, Aris, on a 9 out of 10. Matt Fulick on a 7. Boomer on a 7 again, but he's still saying cheers. And Jimmy Legg is saying time, so close. So close. What are we doing on time? 2.5 hours. Terrific. Oh, a couple of drams coming in. Danny Hebington's bought me. Oh my goodness, Danny, it's such a big dram. What you doing? What you doing, Danny Hebington? Congratulations on your 6 years, mate. I've been part of it for 2.5 years now, and it's the highlight of my week. Great community you've gathered from all around the world. Be proud of what you've built. Slanchava, mate. Big hugs to you, Danny Hebington. I know that you're just over the other side of the country. We will meet and raise a glass together soon. In the meantime, I'll raise this glass and say thank you for that ridiculously generous thing to do in the future, Danny. Keep that money. Put it forward, put it towards those, maybe even you'd be able to buy half of some of the whiskies that we've shared tonight, buddy, but put it towards a good whiskey. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say. Cheers, Danny. Graham Young has bought me a dram to say thanks for 6 great years of friendship and fellowship. Cheers. Graham Young, somebody from Canada, all the way over in Canada, who I seem to have. I've met Graham Young more times in the 6 years of the vPub than I've met some dear friends of mine. It's quite incredible. Hey. Bob Weiser is saying thanks for another great vPub. Awesome as usual. Thank you, Bob. And Taylor actually saying today, my only 10 out of 10er is off a Sheila quiz. One day I'll have you. Taylor, please, you're welcome every time, and I'll try and make things a wee bit more accessible, unless self-indulgent next week. It's appropriate that the vPub started on Thanksgiving, and it's appropriate that we occasionally get the ability to celebrate a very particular anniversary on Thanksgiving too. Thanksgiving is something that we can do outside of North America, right? We can all give thanks and be grateful for the positive things in our life. For me, this thing and all of you is absolutely one of the most positive things that's ever happened in my life. I'll raise a glass to all you beautiful whiskey folk, dedicated barflies. I'll remind you all that you're very dearly loved, and I very much look forward to hanging out with you a week from tonight. And until then, thank you all, and Slanchava.